what is popular is not always true, and what's true is not always popular. Whether you want to admit it or not, we're in a big religious holy war, and you gotta pick a side. Whether you want to be on the sidelines or not, you're still involved with it.
We're 5 shots deep on shot takes. What better thing to drink than milk? Oh my god, I'm so scared.
Didn't do it. I've never heard that link before.
I've never heard that before.
Yeah.
Can we back up to the JFK thing? Because the MLK thing is like, wow, trying to get this train back onto the tracks. Okay, why does Kanye believe what he believes?
Hopefully, I build some trust and rapport with you guys.
It's all going downhill for me.
Because
Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 18 of Shot Takes. Tonight we have Dylan Jones, and this is going to be a legendary episode. Dylan?
yeah, you say it is. We'll see. We'll see what happens. So I'm excited.
Yeah, you're a legendary person, so I'm going to have fun tonight, talk about some of these topics we got going on. And then, of course, we have my co-host, Dave, back behind the computer here. Before we get started with the drinks of the show and how the show actually works, Dylan, you want to give a little bit of background on yourself, what you got going on?
I mean, I guess probably the reason why you brought me on is so it's going to be homesteading. That's what I'm kind of into right now. I got a couple cows I'm milking and prepping a little bit, and then I other than that, health and wellness, nutrition. I kind of go down those avenues, and then just general knowledge about myself, just seeking the truth. That's all I'm trying to do.
Truth seeker.
I'm a truth seeker.
Truth seeker.
I wield that.
I like it. Yeah. Jones, truth seeker.
Just wielded it.
A blade of the people. So if you haven't been to the show before, what we do is we do 6 questions, 20 minutes about for each question. And for each question, we take a shot from this random shot chamber here. And tonight we have E&J Apple, and one of them is tequila, I hope.
Yep, the whammy. There is a whammy in there.
Yeah, there is a whammy. So just be ready for that. So let's go ahead and do
I hope I get the whammy first.
Let's go ahead and do the first question, Dave, whenever you're ready.
Sure, here we go. Question number 1. How do you think the dissolution of the Department of Education will affect the country?
Department of Education.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I got the tequila shot.
What? Right away?
I don't think I've ever gotten the bad one first.
No.
You probably just love the reactions you see people's faces. Oh, this one looks like Fireball or like a whiskey.
It's a brandy, yeah. God.
Not bad. Yeah.
Plot twist. I gave Tim all tequila. No, I'm just kidding.
Not bad.
What the hell's going on?
Not bad. Well, I just had my last AA meeting about 3 months sober, but not anymore. So no, I'm kidding. Sorry, I'm just joking.
That's so funny. Shot takes, ruining lives, baby.
one interview at a time. All right. So, what do you think about the dissolution of the Department of Education that just happened recently?
According to the Trump administration, they're saying that getting rid of that would bring the money back to the states and back to the power to the parents and back to the teachers. Mm-hmm. So they're trying to say that they want to put like a sum on a student to say, listen, the kids are worth this much, and then maybe make it more competitive. Because I guess the federal government wants to try and, we're not doing very good in education nowadays. Yeah. When we first started the Department of Education, we were like number 1. And as soon as they started it, we just went downhill from there. I think we're like 30 something now. You can't quote me on that. To look it up yourself.
I'm gonna look it up right now.
We're not doing very good. We're like 30 something in the world probably. And it's only getting worse. And we throw more and more money at it, and it's just wasting money. And so I think if you put it back to the states, you're putting more of the power in the teachers to let them decide how they want to teach stuff. Because I think whenever you let a teacher decide, they can really emphasize on what they're passionate about. That seems like a big thing nowadays, like what you're passionate about for these teachers.
So I'm trying to understand like the dynamics, like the positives that you mentioned. Yeah. Like I'm trying to understand what. Isn't it only a benefit for the federal government to provide this aid and stuff like that to schools?
Yeah, you would think that, with the federal money that they're giving to the states, that's more money for their budget to go ahead and do more things, right? It should be a benefit. But maybe whenever you have people in this federal government level, I don't know if it's maybe you just need new people in there. Maybe that's an issue. Maybe it's just the people there that are dictating, like, hey, if you're not going to teach this agenda, we're not going to give you this federal money, so they have to teach it, and some people don't agree with it. So maybe just actually keeping it and just changing the people in there would be better. That is a good point.
Yeah. So I was doing some research on this topic because I really didn't fully understand, because like you just hear it in a vacuum, right?
Correct.
You're dismantling the Department of Education. That in itself is a headline, right?
Yeah, it is.
What does it actually mean to do that? And I know that Trump's particularly big on giving the powers back to the states, which is fine.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if there's funding that makes it easier for states that don't have a lot of income to help keep their kids at the same level as everybody else in America, wouldn't it be a benefit that the federal government does have some kind of educational branch to, kind of lift these other schools up?
Yeah, I think maybe they'll actually, I don't know what they're actually planning on doing, but what they could do is when they dismantle that, just take that money that they were using for all these salaries, everything they're putting out money to, just put it straight to the states. They can divvy that up and give them even more to the states, make it better for them. And so if they're only getting a certain amount of money, now they're going to get more.
So I wrote down a few things when I was doing my research as to some of the things that I saw that were a potential concern. It says loss of funding for low-income students. So I don't know, whenever you went to school, I don't know, did you have a reduced rate or anything like that whenever you went to lunch or whatever?
Yeah, for lunch program for kids to get free lunches and that.
Yeah, I know
that was a thing in our school.
Yeah, well, I know that I was on the reduced rate program or whatever else.
Yeah.
So stuff like that won't exist because of the Department of Education being disbanded now.
Really?
Yeah, so kids will have to basically pay full price for their lunches to go to school. And I know me personally, I would get $5 a week to eat lunch at school. I would have to ration out the 40-cent meals, and maybe I get a cookie one day if I was really feeling some razzle dazzle,
Yeah.
But not only that, but completely free lunch for the kids that come from low income families that can't obviously afford to pay lunch. They come from defunct households and stuff like that. So I just wonder if states are going to uniformly reestablish these reduced rate lunches for these kids. Because for some kids, these are the only lunches food that they get for the whole day.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, some kids don't even eat when they go home. That's the only meal they'll ever get. But when you think about school lunches today, they're not that great, I don't think. I mean, the nutrition you get probably is a big deal in itself. I mean, you're almost better off fasting probably. But I mean, as a kid, you probably don't want to be fasting. That's not good for kids.
Yeah, fasting at home and then fasting at school, though. I don't know if you got to eat somewhere.
Yeah. I mean, what would be cool is to have a program, they can make up programs for people in the local county to bring food for the schools, local food, or you have Walmart and Giant Eagle and all these stores throwing away food every day.
True.
Expired stuff. Why can't they help with the food?
Give them a kickback or something.
The whole thing is though, I think our maybe our food's kind of the same across the board, isn't it, or no?
I don't know if it's the same across the board. You mean just the quality of food for all the
or
different
the
schools?
requirements and stuff? Aren't they didn't they have a campaign? Wasn't Obama a campaign? They had a certain thing where they talked about the food quality and the type of food they had. This certain thing and that certain thing. They took away foods from us.
I know that when I was going through high school, Obama was the president, and they used to have these really big, delicious cookies. They would cost you $1 to get this cookie, but this John was like,
that's Amish cookie,
and they would slide it down the rack. It would slide down, and it would hit there, and it'd be all warm and ready to go. And then I would eat that. Oh man!
So that 40-cent lunch you just went for a straight cookie.
Yeah.
You're you know what? I'm foregoing it. We're going for the cookie.
Go for the cookie.
You gotta make sacrifices, baby.
Saved up 3 days.
I haven't eaten lunch all week. I'm getting that cookie.
Cut protein, add sugar. But yeah, so whenever I was going through school, they got rid of those cookies because they were deemed unhealthy for kids to be eating.
Yeah.
And they only allowed certain snacks like Welch's fruit snacks or popcorn and stuff like that to be served out to kids. I think slushies were another thing that were allowed.
Yeah, there was a lot of things that axed at ours too. I can't remember exactly what it all was though, but that was the same thing for us. We had I don't know if it was chili cheese fries or cheese fries or something. People would always get those, and I think they had to get rid of those eventually too.
Yeah.
People were bummed. Kids live for that stuff, We don't have much to look forward to. We're in this prison cell to begin with the 4 white walls and the lights up top, and we're sitting there we need, and they're like, don't take away our cheese fries or whatever it is.
Oliver twist.
Yeah, so let's see what other concerns I had here written down. Pell Grant for low-income kids to be able to afford college degrees are now going to be going away as a result of
Is that what they're saying?
Yeah.
From the Department of Education being
the Department of Education is responsible for issuing out the Pell Grants.
So the Pell Grant, I think the Pell Grant was only $500.
I think mine was 2,000.
Okay.
I think whenever I went to college.
I mean, what's 2,000 for a $40,000 a year school?
I mean, that could mean a lot. I mean, like, put that in perspective. So, like, there are kids that get born into middle class families that can go to school and their families take care of all their schooling.
Yeah.
The same kid from a low income bracket, if they don't get a ton of scholarships, if they're not like brilliant, even if they are brilliant sometimes, they have to go and they have to work at like McDonald's, right? While they're going to classes. You know?
That still won't even pay for college, it feels like.
But how many McDonald's shifts is that for $2,000? How much time spent making money at McDonald's could equate to the money that they would just get?
Buy a full-time job in McDonald's, like $300 a week, I'm guessing. That's what I'm guessing. If you're working full-time too, you know, putting into 40 hours a week, that does add up a lot. I mean, when we were younger, like in our parents' days or grandparents' days, you could actually work a summer job and pay for college at that time. We're in this point nowadays where is it really worth going to school and paying on taking on all this debt at 18 years old to really like for that grant or whatever? I think they'll probably make something in place of it. I'm guessing, but if they slash it, they might get rid of it. But I mean, like when you're talking about that big of an expense though for school. I don't know if that's even worth it. You know, it's almost like they're trying to get you into debt so you're in debt for the rest of your life. So that you're a slave to the system. You have to get a job now and you have to go to work and you have to pay that bill. And then a lot of these people now are paying $1,200 a month coming out of college. Like that's like rent. You know, like you're paying a rent payment with a rent payment. And then you need a good enough job to do that. That's just, I don't know. Is college even worth it anymore? That's what makes you think.
I would have to hope that college is still worth it because I don't know how it should be like. Let's explore college not being worth it. How do you, when you're looking at applicants, how do you determine who is the better candidate if they can't show that they have the wherewithal to get through college or that they has some kind of like record of what their academic skills are, what programs they know? Because in college, like I know I got like certified, I think it's SAS. It's like a statistical analysis software. So technically I could put that on an application and say, hey, I know how to use SAS. Or I know how to use R or something like that, which is another statistical thing. You wouldn't really have that same ability to kind of discern who is a higher quality candidate, I would think. But
yeah, whenever I went to college too. I got a 4-year degree, and I really feel like I don't have anything from it to show. Besides, I did finance. That was my major in college, and I did that, and I worked accounting a little bit in my heyday. And the only thing that worked for me was my accounting class, for I guess accounts payable and receivable and that. But like, really, the only thing that college did for me was my worldview. Worldview. Did you ever hear that term before? Worldview.
Yeah, I mean, I can kind of surmise what it means, but if you want to explain what you believe it is.
That's the one thing they just drove home into me was just worldview. I'm like, why do I keep on learning about this worldview thing? You know. And so what they try to explain to me was like how you see through your lens, how you see through your lens, and how I see through my lens. Like we're all in a shared reality. But the way we see it is completely different. Like I have my bias or your bias or whatever, you know, like the way we see things. And like we're supposed to be able to remove ourselves from that and to see it through someone else's worldview. Like, okay, like that makes sense if you see it through that way. And that was just like a thing that really tried to drive home on me. That was like, I don't know why. It was probably because it was a Christian college. It was Geneva. I don't know. Maybe that's why. They were just trying to really just drive that home to you. But that was a huge thing.
I mean, it's an important moral aspect, though, too, right? Of being in a democratic society. Like, you have to be willing to have discourse with people, and especially if you can't, you don't agree on the same things. You want to at least be able to agree to disagree and understand that sometimes people believe other things than you, and they're not necessarily evil or bad, or they're not somebody to take out.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Just a matter of
help people live amongst
perspective.
each other that have different realities. Different outlooks on life. I think it helps people be able to have discussions. If we're on opposite ends of discussion, we still agree to disagree.
Sure. And if I can throw something out there, though, is that I'm going to argue that's a necessary ethical / moral characteristic that all grown adults should possess, is an understanding of worldviews and perspective and things like that. I think that's something that people need to have.
Yeah.
But is that worth $30,000 to $40,000 a year?
No.
You can learn that without going into that much debt.
I'm still paying on my loans right now.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I have multiple friends that are like that, man. Like they had to move back in with their parents.
Exactly.
And
so it's just like is it really worth it? Like, when's like the cost worth the reward? You know,
Right.
Like especially when you're not guaranteed a job. You're not guaranteed a job in that field. You're
That's
not
the
guaranteed.
frustrating thing, right? Like you could go through schooling for 4 or 5 years, get an aerospace degree, but because you were working at McDonald's and you couldn't get a higher GPA than your peers, you could get out and be like, what are you doing? You don't have any internships. Your GPA is lower than your peers. We're not hiring you.
You're right.
Then what's the degree worth? And then like, how do you win?
Yeah, exactly.
You didn't work for free for an aerospace company because you had to feed yourself? Are you even committed? Like, honestly.
That's the whole thing. Yeah. And it puts people in a bind there. And like, you're making this decision at 18 years old, 17 years old to take on, like, you're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars here. So why don't you just have the government just give you a house to begin with and help and co-sign that? You know, if you're going to take on risk, give a person a house, you know, and co-sign that loan, government, and let us make the payments on that. At least we can actually take care of it, and it's an asset.
Right.
And it helps kids.
Shelter them.
And it would shelter them and help them take care of whatever. Like, and it actually grows an investment, like, has all of its life, you know? I mean, a house is the best asset you can have, really. It always just goes up in value for the most part. Not always, but
depending when you buy it.
But I mean, might as well do that for a kid and give them a house or something, you know?
So
why can't they do that?
What would you do to hire how would you discern your candidates if they didn't have college? If you got rid of college as an aspect of what makes somebody capable of doing a job?
Boy, that would be a tough decision because it depends on what field you're talking about. You know, there's a slew of things out there. You know, my whole thing it goes back to though is we're losing a lot of the trades right now. If you look at that with like the boomer generation, the boomer generation was the people that built our houses, did the plumbing, the electricity, you know, all that stuff, the masonry. That's in dire straits right now.
Yeah, we were just talking about that with electrician work and stuff.
Yeah,
there aren't many electricians out there.
And that's like, if I was going to recommend something to a kid, I would tell him to do a trade. Go to a trade school, do a trade, and learn that because, for one, you could be your own boss. You're plumber Bob, you're electrician Bob, you're, you know, masonry Bob, and you just do your own hours, do your own work, and you know a skill in a trade. You can make a lot of money that way because there's a lot of people short of work on that right now. Or join a union, union electrician or union plumber or whatever they do. But I mean, I think that might be right now for like the way the waves go. Cause like back in the day it was everyone had to go to college. And now maybe it's trades, you know, the pendulum swinging one way or another, you know, maybe it was college, now it's trades and it's you know, maybe we're on that swing back towards trades because once that generation's gone, I think we're gonna have some issues.
Yeah. That's one thing that humanity is good at is auto-correcting. You know, over going into one direction or another, right?
Yeah.
Because eventually everybody drags it back to the middle.
That's what
I just wonder when the pendulum's going to run out of momentum and we're just actually where things make sense.
I mean, I feel like we're gassing out on that college thing right now. Actually, I think we're almost on that end of it. We're starting to lose its steam. That's what I think. What do you think?
I don't know. I think that college is still necessary right now.
Okay.
It's so necessary, in fact, that kids from other countries come here, from China, you know, the country that's probably going to end up surpassing us eventually, you know, whenever that's going to happen. I mean, if it happens, we'll see. We'll see what the economic, you know, policies, how they affect things and everything like that.
Yeah.
The most thing I'm most afraid of in terms of economic policies is the BRICS type stuff, but we'll get into that a bit later.
Yeah, that's an interesting one.
Yeah, but on the aspect of whether or not I think college is still necessary, yes, I think it is still necessary. And coming back to the core question, I think that removing Pell Grants from the U.S. Education system is going to make it to where only middle-class kids will be able to work in a non-labor intensive type of workforce.
Okay.
And basically you're going to lose that aspect of the American dream where you can get those skills and kind of dig yourself out of poverty. But let's move on to, hold on, I got a few more things here before we go on to the next. We'll go to the 25, I think, on this. Okay. Disability education funding affects about 7.5 million kids. This is from the Wall Street Journal. So apparently they are going to remove programs that help deal with kids with disabilities in schools, federal funding for those programs.
Oh, yeah. Do they specify what kind of kids with disabilities, like autistic kids or like people with wraparounds or people like in wheelchairs? Or
I assume autistic. Like the program you would see in school where they would be in their own special class where they get extra tutoring or whatever else to kind of keep them at par with everybody else in terms of like reading lessons or math or whatever else.
So they have like that special funding that they give just for that sole reason
to pay the teachers to be physically there, I'd expect, or give them resources like books or whatever else.
Well, I know. I think they're at like already at like a a breaking point on that already as well. I think there's like not enough teachers or not enough wraparounds for as many students that they have that have that many issues at the moment too.
Yeah.
So I mean, taking that away, that's one thing. But I mean, right now as we speak, I think it's already we don't have enough to even cover that as we have right now. We need more funding for that because it's only getting worse that we see like kids with disabilities. It seems like you go to school, you look at the nurse's office, you have the kids lined up down the hallway and around the corner to drop off their medication or whatever issues they have going on. It's just crazy. I mean, that's why this new administration with Robert F. Kennedy, maybe that's why they think something needs to change.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we're definitely going to see some changes. We'll see what sticks and what doesn't stick.
I mean, they've been in there for a month and they just been cutting and slashing and doing this and that. I mean, they're just doing all kinds of stuff right now.
So like, I'm a fan of innovation, right? Yeah. I'm fine changing things around if things genuinely need change. But I think when you change so much at once, you can't really get an idea of what variable actually affected it positively, right? So like if they were to choose the most logical stuff first, and that would make sense to me. But when you do everything at once, like how can you tell what actually positively affected the situation economically or otherwise?
Yeah, I think their issue was, I remember Elon Musk saying that, about the U.S. aid. I don't know if you remember him talking about him doing that. He was like, I was going to U.S. aid thinking I was going to be able to get a worm out of the apple. And then I went inside there and it was just a ball of worms. So I think that's what they're just like, that's their mindset now. Like, listen, I know there's some good aspects inside this, Department of Education, but we literally just can't sift through it because it's just a ball of worms. So let's just axe the whole thing. Once we see the problem present itself, let's attack it at a different approach, and we'll solve our problems as we come, as we go through them. Like disability kids or the Pell Grant or whatever it is. Okay, we'll start putting that stuff back in there. Maybe make them better. And then we'll go from there. But literally, like right now, it's just that the whole thing in itself is just a big ball of worms, and we just need to get rid of all this bloat and just axe it out, get rid of it.
Yeah. Well, there's a few things I wanted to say about that aspect of it, but I think I'm going to hold it for a bit later in the discussion. This is going to drag us to a whole other topic. So we have a few other things I want to cover here. Decrease in the quality of the education system from loss of funding. I guess we kind of talked about that a bit.
Yeah.
Would you want to homeschool your kids?
Yeah, that's still an option on the table right now for us. We're definitely deeply considering that right now. But I was going to homeschool prior to the Department of Education being taken down. Maybe now they tore it down. Maybe I might be thinking about putting my kids back in public school. Depending on what happens. So actually, it's actually makes me kind of excited. I'm going to see what's going to happen here because I was kind of just going to be like, no, I'm going to homeschool my kids. I'm going to let my wife teach the kids instead of someone else. But
do you think that it's just more efficient to just homeschool kids from now on? Like, what benefit do kids get from physically going to a place to learn?
I mean, there's benefits to both aspects of it. I think you can look at both sides of it, and there's positives and negatives to both sides. I mean, for homeschooling, from my point of view right now, I think I would like my wife to teach my kids what I want them to know, what we want them to know. Why would I want to why don't I want to send my kid to school to have another woman teach my kid whenever my wife is just as good or capable of doing it? And like, I married my wife for that reason, right? Like, I married you. The reason why I married you is because I like the way your views are and the way you are. I want you to teach my kids. I want you to, even like for like babysitting, why send your kid to a daycare and pay another woman to take care of your kid whenever they can't do as good as the mother can. Yeah,
a lot of people use schools as a daycare.
Correct. Yeah, and
but
so
sometimes they do need it. Honestly,
yeah. Those people are taking it as a job. They're just making money to do that. My wife is going to do it because that's her children. So I mean, you might get a more quality education, a more quality care because they actually care about no one cares about your children more than you. So, but yeah, I mean, with the school setting, people always go back to that social aspect. Your kids are going to be so isolated. They're not going to be like bubble children. They're not going to be able to see anyone. They're especially like living in a rural area. You might not see anyone at all and have any social interaction, which could be a big negative for a kid going out into the world. So, I mean, but then for homeschooling, you're sending those kids to school for 8 hours a day. Does a kid really need to be there for 8 hours a day to learn what they need to know? And people say yes, some people say no. And a lot of people are saying no. And they're saying, you know what? These kids need to be there for like 4 hours. Just get what they need to get. And they got to be kids. Let them go back outside and go play in the dirt and go run in the trees or something, and roll around in the grass. But
I guess I think when you're in school, you're not actually learning those full 8 hours either.
Yeah, remember how many times you have study halls and we're just bored? All we're doing is just filling the time gap for the teachers if you get their 8 hours in.
Yeah.
That's the end of the day. It's just a job for a teacher.
And for parents to work too. Yeah.
Because we all need to take on this debt of student loan debt, a mortgage, credit card debt, whatever, just to be a member of that system and be in it. So actually to go back for the college thing, you have women are the most prevalent people in college. They're the ones taking on all the debt. So what if that woman goes and wants to do that and they don't have the option of homeschooling because they have to get a job because I have all this student debt and all this credit card, all this debt. I have to go get a job and I'll never be in that situation to even have a possibility of homeschooling or even have the possibility of, doing anything and staying at home. Like you have to have that second income to pay for your student loans and all the debt you take on.
Yeah.
I mean, that's another reason why they do that. The powers that be.
Not to dwell on this topic too much longer, but I was actually homeschooled for 7 years. So
Were you?
Yes. So I have a lot of background on this. I will say that I think it was incredibly beneficial for me in terms of developing me intellectually, but I had a lot of catching up to do in the social aspect of it. I knew that going into it. Like I was really involved in church stuff and like actually, trying to do what we called extracurriculars and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I could tell I was disadvantaged and I worked really hard to get myself, like when I got back into high school. So I homeschooled from third grade until 9th grade.
Okay.
And then 9th grade to 12th, I went back.
Okay.
And so there was a lot of very deliberate steps that I took to try to reacclimate myself.
Wow.
So
any advice on that for people homeschooling?
Yeah. So I think for me, being involved in church really helped a lot because it gave me a purpose and a reason to want to interact with people because it's like this is like my mission, right? Like my mission is to go and spread the gospel and all that stuff. Right. So it was like, hey, I can't just stay home and play video games, right? Like I have to go accomplish something. So that really helped. In some ways it didn't help because it kind of isolated me from people in school too at the same time. Yeah. Because they were treated more as objectives. And I don't want to say like I didn't care about them as people too, but like I was always objective focused, like how do I help these people or whatever? How do I bring them closer to Christ or whatever? And I think in some ways that did kind of distance me from a lot of the friends because we just weren't in that same worldview like you were talking about.
That's it. That's what it comes down to.
But I made up for that with my Christian friends at church. That really helped with that too. So I don't know. It's all of our experiences are subjective, like you've talked about too, with the worldviews. But I think the point I want to make is if you're going to homeschool your children, it's really important that you actually do something with that time, right? Yeah. Like get them involved in church, get them involved in a sport, something where they are actually trying to accomplish something.
Like go to YMCA.
Yeah. And actually, what's funny too? I don't know how much a fan of this you're going to be. I know you'll be like, hell yeah. But that World of Warcraft was one of those things for me too, because that game is so socially based.
Is it this picture is here?
Yeah, that's the map. That's the map of that game right there. I do love that map. I probably brought it up on the show like 3 or 4 times. Like online, you are in order in the old days, in order to go complete certain encounters to get the equipment you need to fight other players and be successful, you had to get 40 people together.
Really? And you gotta like work. I would say it would take. I don't know much about football, but I would say that doing a raid in World of Warcraft is probably at least twice as hard as winning a football game.
Because you're all talking and strategizing and having to communicate.
You're having to communicate and do all these things.
You gotta have a leader and an echelon.
Officers,
in football, like if one person's like, I would expect that if one person's not doing their job, like it can kind of be fine because you got your star players. If your healer goes down in World of Warcraft, that whole thing, you're all
done.
40 people are done.
If Jimmy has the fireball coming towards him, that's going to explode if it hits him and kill all the guys near him. Yeah. If Jimmy's just sitting there eating nachos the whole time, you're dead. You lose. All 39 other people suffer because of it. And it's like, Jimmy, what are you doing?
The only thing I know from World of Warcraft is that one saying it's like Leroy.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly that one guy wasted all their time there. And you learn quick when you're in a social situation. Like you gotta get with the program or get out. You're not gonna accomplish your goal.
You think IRL school bullying's bad? Let me tell you about some World of Warcraft bullying.
So,
man, that's funny.
Yeah. Sorry, that's my rant. Yeah, that's my rant.
You're good. We gotta bounce on to the next topic. All right, we're gonna go into the next one.
Let's go, baby. I'm ready. Let's do another shot.
Yeah, we're gonna preach. We got 5 more. We got 5 more shots coming.
You already got tequila all the way.
I started off on the roller coaster. I went straight down. The rest of this is just a cruise.
Yeah, you're just coming back to the station right now.
All right, let's spin on up. Let's get this next question rolling.
All right, here we go. Question number 2 of the night.
I don't need to spin anymore because I got the tequila shots.
So are you happy about that or no?
This is the first time it's happened first, right?
Yeah.
So now,
unprecedented.
yeah, now I don't need to spend it anymore. Now I can kind of just chill.
Mine right now looks like the same one I just had.
So
2 for 2.
Question number 2. Should America become more isolationist?
As isolationist, what do you mean? As like a country as itself should be isolated from the rest of the world, or
Yeah, should we focus on policies that focus us internally, or should we still project our power externally to maintain our influence on the world?
oh, isolationist for sure.
Okay, and why?
I'm not worried about our country out there. That's not our deal. It's not our problem. Even though they do say we're like the last democracy, and when the lights turn off here, then all the rest of the world's gonna have issues. But I think they'll just follow what we do. You know, we don't need to be worried about other people's wars for the most part.
So the reason I bring this up,
Yeah.
obviously, there's multiple wars going on across the world right now, and our policies are starting to radically change more conservatively in the aspect that we're bringing businesses back, which is good, but we're also restricting our trade with other nations, which makes them less reliant on us, which could also put us into a position where we could end up in nuclear war because they don't need us anymore and they want what we have, right? If we end up becoming a nation that doesn't need it, what everybody else has, why would other people not want to come and try and take what we have? The last little aspect of it that I want to kind of bring up is nations like Taiwan or South Korea or Ukraine, if they don't have us there to help promote the democratic society, what prevents them from being taken over by countries that don't align with us morally or government?
Yeah, I mean, those guys got to figure it out themselves. They better have their own neighbors, their own partners. You know what I mean? Like, build up your own military. Why do we got to spend all the money for the military and use our own taxpayer money? I think we got to take care of our people first. I mean, at the end of the day, America got to worry about America first and our citizens first before we even go to the other country and start throwing our dollars around. I mean, we got the veterans on the street. We talk about that, like, and then to talk about, our foreign policy for the past 30 years, since as long as we've been alive, basically, has been a foreign policy for Israel. I mean, Israel dictated our foreign policy, and that's our greatest ally in the Middle East. And that's who got us in all these wars, that 20-year war over there in Iraq and all that. And we've been over there for that 20-year endless war. And okay, you want to do that, that's fine. We're going to send our men there and we're going to do that. That's what you guys think is best. But then at the end of it, now we have all these veterans on the streets, homeless, drug addicted and all that. Hey, you want these guys to do this, take care of these guys now that we're done. That just infuriates me. And like, they're wondering, why is our military at the all-time low recruiting? Because you're not taking care of our guys. Taking care of Americans first. And once every American in this country is completely taken care of, has a good job, there's no suicide, there's no drug overdoses, we get everyone tidied up here. Okay, then we can think about starting to worry about other countries and that, because at the end of the day, I feel like our American lives are more important. That's what I care about.
Yeah, the difficult aspect of it is if we were like England, we don't really have like a stake to have like military bases all over the world or whatever else, right? But like their money's not used all over the place. It's used just in England.
Yeah, US dollars.
Yeah, but like our money's used everywhere. And it's used everywhere because we project our power everywhere. We ensure that there is, some kind of like rational like thinking throughout the entire planet, and it's not just going to be an authoritarian type of society wherever we're at. We're going to make sure that we kind of at least steer the direction of whatever is going to happen, which at the same time, some U.S. troops will die or get wounded, but it's at the cost of preventing it from happening on American soil is while we're over there.
Yeah, I mean, that's what they tell us. I mean, we actually got some of our U.S. bases from England from World War II. I believe that's who they gave us those bases, didn't they? Back in World War II, they had no money. Yeah. They were out of money. They were out of resources, and that was before the dollar went off the gold standard. And yeah, I mean, you can go down this rabbit hole pretty far on that one too. I mean, there's so much you can talk about.
Big topic.
Because, I mean, England was out of money. They needed money from us, and so our president said, "Okay, we'll give you some naval ships, some old worn out ships and that, and we'll take your bases, and you guys got to pay us off." I don't think they paid us back till like 2006. from their debt, I believe.
Hey, we don't want to talk about who we haven't paid back since 2006.
But the whole money situation changed since the World War II because in 1972, they got off the gold standards. That completely changed everything in the world. And that's what you're talking about, like the dollar. The dollar is the most powerful, everyone uses the dollar out in the globe. That's about to change here soon, maybe again. But
what does it look like for our society if the dollar is no longer the powerhouse of our economy? Like, what does that look like for us?
I think that's why you have to be more isolationist and more for your own country, because if it's on a global scale and we don't have everything we need in this country, the dollar's gone. We're going to be in some pretty dire straits. That's for sure. Because, we're able to export our inflation. That's why we don't feel it as bad here in this country. We're in $37 trillion worth of debt, but we don't actually feel the inflation. We do a little bit. We have been feeling it lately, but like not on a scale of what it could be, because we take all those dollars. Like you see, if you ever think, how do we send in billions in dollars to Ukraine or Israel, but our gas prices don't go up that much? It's because that money is all overseas and it's not actually in our own country, like increasing our physical money supply. But if Trump wants to send a $5,000 Doge check to us, that goes right into the real world economy here, and we'll see prices go up pretty quick.
Wait, all our money's all overseas. Can you kind of explain better?
Yeah. So, if say you're buying oil in Saudi Arabia, and another country like England or Germany want to make a deal, and they're like, hey, we got to use US dollar transactions only. That's how we have it set up right now, is that the US dollar is used settled for all oil transactions through Saudi Arabia. And actually just recently they just changed that deal. They are now switching over to accept any currency, because I guess they had like a 50-year deal, or I don't know how long the deal was. You can check that, but there's a certain term that they had that basically the U.S. said, we'll give you military support, we'll protect you as long as you make all sales in oil. And they actually switched that, and now Saudi Arabia is working with Russia or China or whoever and working with different currencies. So what happens then? All that U.S. dollars come back to the mainland because they don't need as much anymore. And so that just makes our inflation go up even higher.
Yeah, I was not expecting Russia's economy to hold up so well after they were basically like tariffed, or not tariffed. They were what's the word for it?
Sanctioned.
Sanctioned. Yeah.
Yeah, they were sanctioned.
They were sanctioned. I expected their economy to kind of plummet, which it did, like clearly, but like they're still like functional.
Yeah, they're just working with China more now. You got to go with the allies that you're given, and that's why they created those BRICS nations that you brought up earlier.
So when is that going to be implemented? When are they going to try and make that like a real like currency?
For those of us at home, can we explain that a little bit? It's the first time I'm hearing of it.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, BRICS. I guess you want to explain it.
Okay. Yeah. So BRICS is it stands for Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. So basically, what they're trying to do is all those countries, they're trying to form an alliance, basically to like rival the G7 countries, like European Union and America, all those G7 countries, you want to call them. I don't know. They have a G7 summit, but basically it's called BRICS. They're aligning together. They want to create their own currency that's commodity backed by like wheat, oil, gold, silver, all that. Like they're trying to do all these commodities backed by a currency that, because like maybe India may make more rice and Russia is more oil, so you got to try to make it more even. I think what they're trying to figure out now is like how they're going to weigh that value,
right? For
like how many barrels of oil is worth one bar of gold, vice versa. Whatever that's going to be. So I knew they wanted to try and get that done very soon here. It was like coming up. I haven't really heard anything about it, but I know Trump was very like outspoken against it, saying if you do that, then. But I don't know if we have much leverage over that anymore.
We can't really tell them.
Yeah, what are you going to do?
Like China and India is like 2/3 of the planet's population.
Correct.
Like it's going to be like fighting Zergs.
You're right. Yeah. And that's what we're going to be up against. I think we're going to end up seeing like two different worlds, basically, at the East and the West. Like you're going to see America and like, Canada, maybe, South America and like Europe against the rest of the world. Basically, they're going to have their own two separate economies, their own two separate. It's going to be a race that way. I think what we're going to end up turning into is that we're going to, but the whole scary part about it all is we rely so heavily on China. It's unbelievable.
Yep.
And like, was there a reason for that? Like, why did all of our ties, why did all the powers that be for the years and years and years we've been in alliance with them, even though aren't they communists? So why are we such great allies with the most communist country in the world? Like, it just doesn't make sense in your head, because like back in the Cold War, Soviet Union, Russia, communists, get rid of them, Germany, get rid of them, they're communist, fascist, whatever. Like, but we're perfect allies with with China right now. Why is that? Does that make sense?
I think the only good thing about China being a preeminent force, even if they are communist, is that they are still very much against nuclear war.
Yeah.
Like, even though they are communist, they are not like directly an autocracy like it would be in Russia.
Yeah.
Like, there's not just one person who's genuinely running the show like it is with Putin.
Yeah.
I don't know how long.
I think Xi Jinping's running it pretty good over there.
I mean, he's running the show, but like he's got like a whole like board and everything that he still like works with.
Yeah, you're right.
Whereas like Putin, he literally assassinates people or I guess China kind of does that too, but I don't really know for sure. But
I think America does too a little bit. I mean, we're guilty of it too, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, what we try saying, oh yeah, we're here for democracy and freedom, and are we really? Like, I mean, we're over here doing having our own issues and our own problems.
Dude, ask the freaking banana republics and everybody in South America about that.
Yeah.
CIA running operations to overthrow democratic elections, or people legitimately overthrowing their oppressive dictatorships just for us to freaking say, no, go back to dictatorship because we like working with them.
Supplant this dictator, and
and a lot of that funding went to USAID. That's when they cut it off. I think they're cutting off a lot of CIA programs, I think, that way. Do
you think that it's necessary for the CIA to kind of just do, like, the government to do things that would be viewed as bad, but as long as it's in the benefit of our nation?
No.
Do you think it's possible to just only make good decisions as a ruling body of a government or a nation or whatever?
I think the whole problem with that is that humans like inherently like sinners, and we're always going to just corrupt stuff. I mean, I don't think they have the best interest in mind for Americans at home. I mean, they feel like they do, but I think they're just probably abusing their power.
Yeah, but I mean, like, I would have to expect they're still doing it in essence for their country, right? Like they probably exert their power that way, sure.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it's for the benefit of America, right? So like it's sort of
justifiable.
How
are we benefiting? Because we look terrible right now. We look like dog poo. The state of our country is in right now. If you think it's a good state of condition, it's not. And we've been doing this for how many years? Like, it's not getting any better. It's only been getting worse. I mean, in my opinion, that's my opinion. I mean, maybe you see it as in we're fine. Everything's perfect, dandy. It's all sunshine and rainbows out here. I mean, it depends on how you feel.
I think you kind of look at it like the ruling body of any like medieval type of society. Like they're always living posh, they're all like fat and everything, right? That's just how it is being the ruling class of a society. Not to call America the ruling class, but our economy is the reason the world operates the way it operates the way it does. So ultimately that's going to lead to your society becoming pudgier in all senses of the word.
Because we don't have to worry about doing the hard work, and because I mean, everything's done in China, like all the slave labor. I mean, they're the ones that are really working hard and having to put in the time, and we're just here reaping the benefits just because of our U.S. dollar is strong. That's the only reason why, and because they have like slave labor too, they can do it cheaper. But that's like the false sense of reality we got right now too, which is kind of scary. Like at any moment, Xi Jinping, that communist dictator in China, can say, "Sign this thing, cut us off immediately." Next day, we don't get anything. I mean, I think they said we get, I don't know what the percentage was of pharmaceuticals we get from China. Like even the raw materials of it, like we get everything from China. Could you imagine people going to their prescriptions tomorrow, or like when a shortage happens after 30 days, where however much we got here, we're done. We'll be scrambling. Can you imagine all these crazy people that we have like mental health crisis out here, like dealing with like no medicine, no medication, they can't get it, it's just gone. I mean, I think they like if you look at like a penicillin, like it's just like stuff like that. It's all comes from China. It's crazy how much we get from China. People don't realize it.
I do remember during COVID, and we do have a COVID-esque question later on, so we won't stay on it. But during COVID, we could only get so many masks, and eventually, like companies like Ford had to go and find ways to produce masks because we just didn't have enough masks for everybody. Like there was definitely like a supply gap there. So I could see what you're talking about.
And like now you bring that up. I mean, if they did shut us down, it'd probably take about a good 1.5 to 2 years to get back up and running. We can get stuff done. I think we could turn it around pretty quick and make stuff we need to make here. It just be a gap there. But then also it goes back to like college. How many people are like factory engineers? Nobody, because we don't have factories in this country. Right. Who's being an engineer and learning how to do that process fast? No one's gonna be learning how to do that. So I mean, we'll have a little bit of a curve there too, but we're Americans, we'll get it done. They always do. But
I think the need arising is a very important factor. The other aspect I wanted to talk on, like sort of like worldly politics in that sense, is the immigration crisis, I guess. How would you respond with like the immigrant crisis? If you have any opinions on it, I guess.
I actually like what they're doing right now with the immigrant crisis. I wish they would do more. I wish they'd be getting more people out of the country faster. Just they should like make the military go out and help them out.
We did.
Yeah, they actually
the
are.
Border.
Are they?
Yeah, Marines went to the border.
Yeah, to secure it. I want them to go into the cities and get them out. Get the most hardened bad criminals we can get.
I think they did that with the Venezuelans over in what was it's one of the southwestern states that they like took over entire apartment buildings. The freaking military went and got them out.
Remember,
it might have been, it's one of those guys over there, but they had taken over like entire apartment blocks, and it wasn't just SWAT that went in, like it was the actual military going in and clearing these buildings.
I think they're in Colorado. I knew there's some like gangs out there from down South America, Colorado, taking it out. I was like, they even declared the cartel a terrorist organization. Like finally, finally,
dude, like, listen, I'm very pro immigration, but dude, like, this is like a foreign body just occupying our buildings. What are you doing? Get them out of here.
But then also, like, our money was going to it to bring them in. They were making those NGOs, the non-government organizations. That's where that money went from, like USAID program. Like, they were just giving all these non-government organizations just all this money to go ahead and put people on planes and get them up here and bus them in, and all they were assisting getting them in here. Like, use that money to take care of our veterans and take care of our homeless people and our actual Americans that need help now. I mean, what they're saying in Chicago, the immigrants were coming in and forcing all the black people out. So basically, the landlords were kicking out the black people and bringing in the immigrants. Yep. And they're like, basically, like they said, it's like the tension was so high. I don't know about now, but the tension was so high. They're saying if like one of these illegal immigrants do something to one, he's like if they raped a girl, or if they killed one of the citizens there, it'd just be like a gang war. You'd have the
race war all over again.
Like it could be bad. Like it's something like on like pins and needles over there. I guess it was super bad. So
one interesting thought experiment I like to usually pose to people who are usually like for like pro or let's call it removing people from the country who are immigrants.
Yeah.
Would you feel the same way if the immigrants were from Ukraine, if they were refugees here?
Leave them. Nope. I don't want them.
You don't want the Ukrainian refugees here?
Leave them over there.
Why?
They don't need. How they even get here to begin with? Too.
I'm saying, like, what if our country was adjacent to Ukraine and they got invaded and the Ukrainian people had nowhere to go? What would you?
I mean, they should just go into Europe like they've been doing.
No, I'm saying if our country was Europe.
Oh,
let's say what happened when in Ukraine happened in Mexico. Like they're getting invaded by a foreign power.
I think we should take them people in. Like say like Russia went down to Mexico, invaded Mexico, and those civilians had needed a place to go. Come up here, because you know what? We're probably gonna get the good people from Mexico coming up here because they're trying to seek refuge and like they actually care. The people that we're getting in this country are not people that care. Like people are emptying out their prisons to come into our country. Like what they say, like El Salvador, but like there's certain countries down there literally just dumping their prison population into our country, which is just like we're getting the worst of the worst. We're not getting the best of the best. That goes to the same thing with the H-1B visas they've been talking about. Did you ever hear about that?
You want to explain it a little bit in case somebody doesn't know?
So basically an H-1B visa is if you're a company and you want to hire an engineer, like, someone wants to be an engineer. Basically what they say is there's nobody that's qualified in America to hire for an engineer for this one program. So we're going to go over to India or go over to whatever country and get an engineer and bring them in and pay them a way lower rate than we get to pay an American.
Yes, sir.
So basically, instead of it just like back in like during slave labor days, that's what they did before. They were like, the people were like, oh, we want better wages. We want better wages. It's like, okay, well, we're going to get some slaves and just do it for free. And they just do that. But now this is like the modern day slave labor. Right. We're going to bring them over and pay them a low wage, but it's a legal way of going about it. So like if you look at these companies, like even like Elon Musk is guilty of it. Yeah. He loves the H-1Bs because it's so much cheaper for these companies. But I think the thing was they should get an American first before they can go out to another country and get it. And they're trying to argue, oh no, we're getting the brightest and the best. Like, no, you're not. You can get one to work at 7-Eleven gas station on an H-1B visa. It's actually criminal, like what they're doing
at a gas station.
Yep.
How do you even justify that if you ever get like audited or something?
No, it's allowed. I guess they allow it. There's like they don't even actually enforce it. Like, I mean, there's a lot of policies and rules and laws in this government, in this country that we have right now. If they just enforce what they had, everything would take care of itself. But we don't enforce it anymore, and nobody's held accountable. There's no accountability at all. That's what we need.
So the parallel I was trying to draw between like Ukraine sending refugees over, a lot of these countries, especially like Colombia, they consider themselves genuine refugees of their society, and they view America as the only way that they can escape a dictatorship or whatever else.
Yeah.
It isn't necessarily that they're all murderers. I mean, granted, obviously they should be vetted to make sure that they're not. Right?
Yeah.
Like I feel like everybody
Correct.
who comes to our country should have some kind of identification process
Yeah.
done to them.
Yeah.
You know, whether it's a hasty thing and they kind of get tagged and, you know, know exactly where they are or something, like you're in this house at this place rather than just, you know, letting them go wherever the hell they want. But yeah, I compare it to a refugee crisis in that for some of the people that are coming over, not everybody, you know, and I do agree with you. There are people that are being sent over here that aren't good people that are just trying to exploit all the resources we're giving them from our own pockets.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that, but I still feel bad for the people who are coming here that are genuine refugees, and especially from my culture, being gay. I know there are a lot of gay people that come from like the Middle East that that cannot exist in their country because they're gay, but they can come here and they can live here and not have to worry about being persecuted or whatever else, but they're going to get rolled up with all the other people.
Yeah, and that's the one thing they do too, is like the people that are trying to legally come into this country, they actually aren't letting people process through. Like our own government was saying, nope, you're trying to do it the legal way. You're not coming in. Like they're actually like revoking visas and like saying, nope, you're actually trying to be a productive citizen of the United States. You're not coming through. You're not allowed in. So those people are suffering. They're actually not actually, I think those people aren't allowed to get into our country right now. That's why they have to try to go the illegal way. That's the only way you can get in. But the majority of them are going to be all criminals. I mean, a lot of them are saying, a lot of them were middle-aged or fighting-aged Chinese males.
Yep.
Tons of them were coming across the border. I mean, like you hear these stories all the time. It's not just like grandma and little kid. It's like fighting male age kids, like people from Iran. Like, it could be Taliban people coming across the border. I mean, they said a lot of them are from there.
And it's tough because those same countries again have those certain demographics that might be genuinely here to try and escape their culture. But at the same time, I understand the inherent risk that if the Taliban wanted to enact some kind of attacks on America, they could see these people in strategic locations and have them say, hey, on this date, everybody's going to bomb some kind of public center or something, right? Like they can certainly do that. But I have to believe that most people just aren't actually here for that reason.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think what you got to do is just close the border, stop it all, stop everything. And then let's open it up and start vetting everybody coming in here. And then we'll get to good people again, you know? But I mean, like, it just got so bad to a certain point. You just got to, like, just shut the whole thing off until you can just, okay, let's take a breath. Now let's start figuring it out from here. Because we do need people. But that's what, it goes into a whole nother topic, too, with, like, the population collapse. You know, people aren't having enough kids. There's not enough Americans having enough kids right now. But that's global. Yeah,
especially in like South Korea. South Korea, they have a genuine crisis to where they cannot support their elderly Social Security because they they are only having one kid per family max.
Maybe if they do. Yeah. And like a lot of people now, they just have animals. Like their dog, that's their kid. That's what people, even Americans, we're doing that too to this day. And like the only reason why we don't feel the labor shortage as much as the other countries is because we're immigrating a lot of people. We have the best immigration out of any other country because everyone wants to go to America, right? We have the best law. You know, we're the most liberal, free country there is, basically. So that's why everyone comes to us. So we don't feel as much as the other countries. But like, South Korea, everyone's in a population decline. And it's about to hit like a bad point here soon. Like you're saying, more people are dying than being born.
I do watch some debate type stuff, and I'll finish on this. It is true that we do need people to join our economy to help the workforce or whatever else to get those low labor jobs that like the trade jobs that most Americans, they are at the point now where they should be seeking higher education. Everybody should be seeking higher education, but most Americans are in a position where they can seek it out or should seek it out, especially now that, resources towards the education system are definitely strained. Yeah.
And like, are these immigrants, they going to be trained in that and like, all that stuff that we need for like labor, like masonry or electricians or plumbers,
Dude, it's so all over the place. Like I worked with a mechanical engineer, the nicest guy I knew. Like I was making like $13 an hour just doing testing on machines for an automation company in Texas. Yeah. Mechanical engineer, treated me like a human being, told me about his projects he was working on. Name was Ikram, Indian dude. Gets deported.
Really?
Engineer.
They deported the best ones, huh?
Building our automation equipment for our country to reduce labor.
Was he here legally?
I know he was here legally, but his
Legally,
visa
see?
Illegally.
His visa. No, he was here legally. His
Like I
visa
just
like
said.
ran
Oh,
out.
okay.
Yeah, his
Remember I
like
said
visa had an
people with
issue,
visas?
and they kicked him out. I'm like, dude, this is the kind of person we want here. What are you
Correct.
doing?
Yeah, they're trying to, that administration or whoever was trying to get rid of the good ones that we need. We need people like him.
Yes.
But no, they were like, no, we want the illegal ones to come in. The people with the visas that run out or whatever, no, get rid of them. It makes no sense. It was
No,
so
it doesn't.
backwards. It makes no sense at all.
I do hope that if anything comes out of all of this stuff, because obviously there are a lot of people that here that shouldn't be here that just want to exploit our resources. Like if we went to war, they wouldn't help. They would just be like out of here, right? Like I don't want those kind of people. I want people who want to
Yeah.
have a vested interest in our country for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
But yes, I do think that. What the hell was I saying before? Had a lapse of my thought. What was I saying just before that?
You were talking about those kind of people. Not like
Talking
that.
about
Not
higher
like that.
education and the labor
Yeah.
and like getting a certain amount of people in.
No,
and-
sorry. Yes, I think that we should have a more streamlined way to get people in here quicker.
Yes.
that's the
For
big,
sure, yeah, it
That's the
should
big thing I
definitely-
want from this is it shouldn't
Yeah.
take 8-9 years to get somebody. over
Basically,
here.
the only thing I care about is as long as you're not a criminal, really. As long as you're not a criminal and you want something, you want like to be prosperous, you want to have a job and have a family and
Yes.
be prosperous, that's fine.
And do
just don't be a
things.
criminal or a rapist
it
or a
should- it just-
pedophile or like
right.
whatever. Like
It just shouldn't
or
take
murder.
more than a year
Think-
to
It shouldn't
get.
take long. Yeah, it shouldn't take that long at all.
Think about the Herculean effort it takes to actually get to America if you're from one of these places, right? Like that alone enough as a vet to vet somebody to say like, okay, this person figured out a way to accomplish something. That's more
Yeah.
than my freaking redneck neighbors who just sit around and collect welfare could ever
Yes.
be asked to do. You know what I
Correct.
mean? Like,
And a lot of the
So-
people, and now you brought that up, a lot of these people are in debt to the cartel.
right.
The cartel
right.
controls the southern border. They control the point that is used as an access point to bring in those illegal immigrants into our country. And so they're in a debt $5,000 to $10,000 a piece coming into this country, and the cartel's profiting from it. So basically, we shut that down. We shut down the cartel as well
Correct.
until we can figure it out. It's a terrible thing, and like a lot of people are getting raped and killed before they even come in here. Like it's bad. Like it's real bad down
Human
there.
trafficking and stuff.
It's terrible. I mean, they're doing organs now. Because
Yep.
I mean, like it used to be drugs. Like drugs was a profitable thing, but like if you have a kid or a woman, you can use them over and over and over again. You make unlimited money off them. That's what they're doing. They're doing that, and then they're harvesting organs.
My fiance gets hit up
crazy.
about that all the time. She's a kidney transplant receiver, and there's
Really?
people that message her directly all the time, like, "Hey, do you have you want an organ? I'll sell it to you."
Yes,
Like foreign people
all
you
the
know?
time.
How do they get that list?
How to get the what?
I think they can get them. Yeah.
How do they know that
She's on her TikTok. She's very big on like, hey,
I see. So
kidney advocacy and like awareness about like transplant people and stuff like that.
Yeah. So people go on the black market all the time and try
Yeah.
and
So
get
these
it.
black market people are constantly reaching out to her like, hey, do you need a kidney
Yeah.
or whatever?
Is that actually like? I hate to like play devil's advocate to something as sensitive as this, but like, is it actually realistic to use a black market kidney? Like,
No, because if you get found out that you got a black market kidney, you get no medicine. You get completely shut off from all the resources you need to actually sustain that kidney. A lot of people think that as soon as you get a transplant organ, you're good to go. It is not like that. She will never be like you and I are when it comes to our organs. She will always need doctor's appointments and medicine and support. And if they find out you did that, or even to get access to any of that, once you have the kidney, dude, you're indebted to doing black market shit for the rest of your time with that organ,
Yeah.
So it's just not sustainable to do it at all. But people are still trying to do it. She gets these messages at least once every 2 weeks,
Yeah.
and it's from these kinds of organizations.
Wow. So yeah, it's there too. There as well.
all right, time to go on to question number 3. You gotta have to double hand it. It's a double hand action. in there.
Double-handed.
Looks like a tequila, like a clear one.
Oh,
Yeah.
Here we go.
Oh yeah. I don't call it tequila. I call it tequila.
To kill you.
Oh, that was water. You put water in it?
No.
Oh, I'm kidding.
I gave you the tequila. I gave you the water.
just keep going. You want tequila?
These 3 tequilas in, I'm in water. I'm like, hey, meeting.
All right. Oh, this is a fun one. Here we go.
Yeah.
Jones,
Oh,
what
boy.
do you want to see from the declassification of the JFK and MLK files? What do you want to see? What is on your heart of
Okay.
hearts about this?
All right, guys. Hopefully, I build some trust and rapport with you guys.
It's all going down.
If you made it this long, just exit out now. Thanks for staying with us. But so basically, this is like This is what I think is going to happen. This is like incredible because when you look at the Republican Party and you look at Donald Trump and everyone who voted for him and everyone who supported him, a lot of them are just diehard MAGAs, you know, just MAGA, MAGA, MAGA. And the one thing that was so big on Republican and MAGA's mind is our best ally in the Middle East, Israel. That's people even biblically, right? Biblically, Israel is our greatest ally. We shall support them. Jews are God's chosen people. We need to take care of them. That is like, man, how much of a base you think of that? Support that?
A ton. At least I would say probably 40% of MAGA.
So
pulling out of my head.
So if those people did not vote for Donald Trump, he would not be president right now. But with these files, like the JFK and the MLK files and the whatever, what else were they chosen?
It's the MLK and the JFK files.
And Epstein Island now, and
the Epstein stuff.
There's something else too.
Yeah.
But even with all those, the associate is so funny because even Donald Trump himself is a very big supporter of Israel. I mean, his daughter is married to Jared Kushner. You know, it's Jewish and Israel is all the whole way. Even through Robert F. Kennedy, a lot of people are.
You could see I know you're going to go off on that, but there's one small tidbit. Back in 2016, before Trump got elected, there was some kind of fuckery afoot with like Israel giving him like millions of dollars, like beforehand.
Yeah, people say that Donald Trump's dad has something to do with like Israel as well too.
I don't know about his dad, but I do know that this was a legitimate thing that like I mean, I can't say for sure, but like evidence points that he had gotten a political donation from Israel in the aspect that if he became president, that he would give them more military support and diplomatic support.
And here we are.
Yeah.
And here we are. Like he's literally doing what they're saying he's doing. But I think what these files are going to do, it's going to expose Israel. Because guess who's behind it all? I think Israel's behind it.
Yeah.
And that's what's going to come out. I mean, that's why you had like even the MLK.
So
I've never heard that link before.
I've never heard that before.
Yeah.
Can we back up to the JFK thing? Because the MLK thing is like, wow.
So if we go, you want to start with JFK. So basically with JFK, who was the person that shot JFK according to
Lee Harvey Oswald?
Yeah.
Or no, yeah.
I think it was Lee Harvey Oswald, yeah.
Or Jack Ruby, or what about Ruby? Was he the one that killed the shooter?
That I don't remember.
Let me
you can look that up just so you can be sure. But you want to continue with what you're saying?
Yeah, look up Jack Ruby.
You can pull it up on the screen too.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's the one that killed Lee Harvey Oswald.
Yeah. So you have Lee Harvey Oswald. He supposedly killed JFK. Well, then the person that killed Lee Harvey Oswald was Jack Ruby. It was actually Jack Rubenstein.
Oh.
Is it actually true?
Hold on, I gotta click it.
Way.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So
okay.
So that's a link there too. I mean, people.
Wow.
So it sometimes likes to have like Israel's hands on it. And like Israel is associated with Jewish people, and I mean you don't want to talk about that because anytime you bring that up, it is just not good.
No,
was
it's not.
JFK not aligned with the Israeli causes at the time? Like, why would what incentive would they have if they did to orchestrate an assassination like that?
I know one thing that he wanted to do was to make AIPAC register as a foreign lobby. So basically, Israel has a lobbyist group that lobbies to our congressmen and senators that give them money to vote their way. Well, JFK wanted them to register as a foreign lobby so that they're known that they're foreign. That's where money's coming from foreign country.
Okay.
Well,
as they should.
Yeah, and that's still a thing today where they don't. They're not.
Oh my God.
They're not registered that way. And another thing was it was a Federal Reserve. He didn't like the Federal Reserve. He wanted to go back. He wanted to get rid of the Federal Reserve because the Federal Reserve is not a federal government entity. It's a private bank, a private organization. And our government does not run it or own it or control it. And that's who controls our money supply. And so basically the people that run that and AIPAC, people speculate that it was them that killed him because he wasn't following orders or following the right footsteps. And it's funny because I believe there was a meeting between MLK and JFK and Malcolm X.
Okay.
And all three of them knew about like the Jewish handlers, basically, about Jewish leadership. I mean, whenever I say that, though, you can't just say, oh, Jewish people, all bad. No. Like, you can't just find your accountant down the street and do that. Like, no. There's like a elite group of people out there that are well orchestrated that might just use that as a banner or as a flag or like Israel. You know, the people in Israel, are they truly Israelis? Like, are they truly native people to that land? They claim they are, but I claim different. You know, I mean, they have one of the highest skin cancer rates out of all the countries out there.
Is that just because of them being on the equator, or what?
Because of where because like when you look at an Israeli, a Jewish person, they're white, like white complexion. You look at a Palestinian or a Saudi Arabian or an Egyptian, they're more of like a bronze. And so, like, if you're out there in the sun all day, you're gonna get skin cancer, and that's what Israel has, is a problem with skin cancer.
Yeah, on a side note,
So you're really native.
I love my passive buff in life that God has bestowed upon me.
My passive buff.
Yeah, aside from the
It's like a World of Warcraft.
Yes, that is 100% a World of Warcraft term. His racial bonus. I gotta throw the word in there. That's what it would be called. You know? So,
aside from the unconscious bias, I will say it is so nice going on vacation and just not having to worry about putting on sunscreen. It is truly.
You just watch all your white friends spending 30 minutes of their time out in the sun.
You want to know something like way off topic about the sunscreen thing that you brought it up?
What's that?
They say that if you sunscreen's toxic, they say, so don't wear sunscreen. So people are like,
is toxic.
That's what they claim.
Who is they? Who has said sunscreen is toxic?
People out there, their opinions are saying sunscreen's toxic. And so, do you know how to combat that from getting sunburn? They say do not wear sunglasses, because whenever you wear sunglasses, you're tricking your eyes that it's dark outside, and so you don't need to produce any melanin to protect your skin from the sun.
Oh my
goodness! You're laying out in the sun.
Oh.
Your eyes are what tells your brain and your body what it needs to do. Like, hey, it's dark out. It's nighttime. Don't worry about it. But then you just get fried. You take off your sunglasses, you see the brightness in the sun, your body's going to make whatever it needs to make and do, like God imposed it to be tan, to fight the sunburn.
Now you got to take like some pills that just like do that for you so you can still wear sunglasses.
What do you think about that theory?
I mean, like,
I think it's possible.
So, like, I'm willing to believe it on some kind of scale. I don't think it's like as like on off as you would make it seem, but I think that like if you wake up in the morning, your eyes respond to how bright it is outside. You actually be more awake because the sun is brighter, or because the lights in your house are brighter.
Yeah, your eyes are the windows for everything. Yeah.
But I don't know about the physiological responses that your body would have if you have sunglasses on and everything seems darker. If your body would actually think that it's colder or something because
it's dark out.
Yeah,
you know,
I think it's one of those things. Like with anything else, it's like just because it makes sense doesn't mean it's necessarily true or wrong. It's like a hypothesis. And our whole society is built on that scientific method of like go and test it.
And this is the thing. The one saying goes, what is popular is not always true. And what's true is not always popular.
Right.
That's what the one saying goes. I mean,
just needs tested out. I think it's a great theory. I'd never heard of it before.
To see it.
It's a good theory.
So I stopped wearing sunglasses because of it. But I mean, I haven't had any sunburn in a long time. But I mean, if you're out there for a long time and you're like a redhead, pale skinned guy, you're probably gonna get burned regardless, but like you might be able to last a little bit longer though.
Okay, let's talk about this sunscreen thing. Listen, dude, you can't just like throw this like little tidbit out
talk about it whenever you're talking about your
reality shaping information and just be like, yeah, it's probably gonna kill you.
Well, that's how everything we have in society. I mean, that's why RFK's in our food supply, from everything we put in our bodies. It's all there to like not kill us, basically.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. I'm just going to say grain of salt because I'm just looking through as much as I can while talking and watching the audio and all this stuff. The quick thing that I get off Bing is it's not considered toxic generally. It always depends on the active ingredient, right? But also like this is combining information from different websites, different people, special interest groups, right? So like you don't know who's actually throwing this information out there.
Yeah,
you know,
with something like that, like you have to, like you were saying with the hypothesis, it has to be like a peer-reviewed like type thing, right?
And that's why I like to say that. I like to say, hey, this is true or factual. That's why I said like, hey, this is people are saying this.
Yeah, people are saying this. That's a good way of saying it too.
Yeah, but
like it really depends, right? Like that's why I use aluminum-free deodorant, right? Yeah, because aluminum, and again, this is not tested, but like aluminum is a known like reactive metal with organic material. And like there's that theory out there that's what causes like all this different lymphatic cancer and stuff. So, you know, and I don't know that for sure, but I just know that the base principle of aluminum is a reactive material with organics. So therefore I go for aluminum free stuff. And I'm sure it's the same thing with sunscreen, right? Like maybe there's a higher concentration of zinc in this type of stuff.
Whatever
and
brand
it just depends.
you're actually going for.
Right,
yeah,
exactly.
Depends on what brand you're using. There's probably some safe ones, but
yeah, for sure. So to answer your question, Tim, I don't know, and doing the research for it needs a deeper dive.
Goddamn right, you don't know.
I mean, like you can go even further with that. It's like, what do you consider truth?
Right.
Like what makes you think, you know what, because I seen it here, this is my truth. So like, okay, this is what I'm going to do every day. I'm going to watch 30 minutes of Fox News, 30 minutes of CNN. I'm going to read the Washington Post and the New York Times, and I'm going to read the headlines off of that. And after all that conglomerate, I'm going to know what's going on in the world. Do you really? I mean, is that really your truth? I mean, who says that's not? I mean, who says that's true? I mean, it's a 20-year-old writer that's just putting this out there, making their own agenda possibly.
Right, just trying to make money.
So what is the actual truth? Or is truth what we've learned through our whole entire time through our education system, through the public health education system, through the federal government, what they want us to know and what they want us to learn? And the only thing that we should know is what they're giving us. Is that our truth? You know what I mean? Like, that's the way I'm always go back to is like, how do you see through your own lens? Is like, we have our own bias and they teach that, like, ingrain that into us. So like, is it true because when we Google it, that's what it actually is, the truth? Or is it, you know, paid? Or is it like, you know, who's doing the studies, who's doing their research and the science? So, I
mean, Google and Bing or any search engine has been known to kind of like tailor their responses to what you look for. For example, did you know that filing your taxes is actually supposed to be completely free? Like, tax services are actually, as far as I'm aware, this is a very complicated thing because you can't just research it. Yeah. They are supposed to offer a free filing method for you if you don't have businesses or anything like that.
Wow.
But they pay to bury it in the algorithm where you cannot find the link to the part of their website that lets you file it for free.
Stimulate the economy, baby.
I believe I learned this from a Johnny Harris video. If you're really interested in looking more into that.
Wow.
But yeah,
I believe
it's supposed to be completely free.
I believe it.
But we've been tricked into paying for it.
It's messed up.
freaking big H&B block, dude.
We shouldn't be paying taxes, right?
H&R block.
Shouldn't be paying taxes.
I think we should be paying taxes, but
Ooh, fight.
I think taxes are essential. I just don't think we should have to do our taxes every March or April or whatever else.
I know what you owe me, but I'm not going to tell you, and I expect you to tell me and get it right.
Yeah.
And if you don't get it right, you're in trouble, said the IRS.
You know why they do that, right?
Why?
Because now we're all criminals. Every single one of us are criminals because of that.
There's always some little thing.
Yeah, they can get you on any little hiccup because they're going to look at it and be like, you're a criminal now. Like, so if you don't align to what they want us to follow, like if I start saying something about like, oh, the MLK files, the JFK files, well, Dylan, we're going to come find your, look at your tax return and, oh, you messed up right here. Now you're going to jail. Tax evasion. See ya. Like, isn't that how they got the one gangster? Back in the day, there's some like New York gangster, some famous gangster. They got him for tax evasion.
That's the only thing they can get him on. Capone, and I thought
people like
Chicago.
that. In that era,
yeah,
there's someone like that. The only way they capture him was from tax evasion. They had nothing else they can get on him.
To be fair, there was really no way to get the gangsters back in the day, so they kind of had to use whatever they could legally.
But they can use that on any of us.
They certainly
can use on any of us.
As long as
if we step out of line, they got us. That's one thing they can hold us on. I think that's why they do that.
That's true, but I think it's so like, yes, that loophole's always there, but it's like bigger fish to fry, right? Like they aren't doing that right now. So of all the problems that I'm going to be pissed about as an American citizen, I'm not worried about that one yet. We got to figure out all the people coming across the border that might be Chinese agents, right? Before we start worrying about
sleeper
the
cells
IRS.
in our country from Iran and that, and they're worried about the Taliban being in here.
It's certainly possible. I can't imagine. It's just frustrating because like. You take, let's say at best, if you were a terrorist organization, you wanted them to come into our country and stage some kind of active shooter bombing type situation. Like, how many people can you really convince to go and be suicidal and have the skill set to actually go to another country and not get discovered and everything like that? That takes a lot. That takes a real skill set to do.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if I'd be able to go to like Russia or China and be able to be an operative, right? Like, and you're going to expect somebody who doesn't even have the internet to do that. I don't really know how you expect them to figure that out. But I will say it is certainly possible, but I don't think that should ruin it for the literal 99.8% of people that are here.
That's true. Good point. Sorry, I brought that topic back up, and I'm just saying it's small.
We went off the JFK MLK files pretty far off. There,
we did.
We try and reel that back in, man.
I'll reel it in real quick. So within 45 days of the order, which was signed on the 23rd of January, we will have these files released. So around the time we release this episode, probably I would say 3 weeks from now,
we should know.
Yeah, we should really know what's going on because it says here, I have written here 30 I don't know how there's this many documents, but 320,000 documents have been reviewed, and 99% of these have already been released. They've already been released. Sorry, I let me finish here.
Oh, sorry.
They've already been released. Apparently, there's only 1% of the documents that have not been released, that have been deemed, I don't know, for whatever reason, to be partially or fully redacted, which is 2,140 documents. These are the documents that the Biden administration left redacted. I don't know what they know. Yeah. I do know that listening to on the Joe Rogan podcast, listen to Donald Trump react to some of these things on the files. He got the opportunity to look at the files, and at a certain point, one of the people in the room said, "You probably shouldn't read anymore."
Mike Pompeo.
Yeah,
said that to him.
Is that it?
Maybe.
Yeah, I could
remember.
See.
I think it was him. Maybe.
You saw that? You watched him react to that on Joe Rogan?
Oh, yeah, I did watch him talk, but I can't remember specifically when he said that.
He got really weird. He got really weird. Yeah,
that's the thing. So, like, it's probably something near and dear that, like, could be near and dear to all these MAGA Republicans thinking, we love Israel. But then they find out you killed our president. You killed our president, or you killed Martin Luther King, who did the civil rights movement, or you killed Malcolm X, who's, like, a huge civil rights guy. You know, like, you could mess up people's bubble and their bias and their implicit bias and their hidden, like, what? My whole world is upside down now.
Yeah.
Like that would completely ruin everybody.
You're shifting the entire political landscape for what? Transparency? Yes. That's not important.
Yes. and then to find out that we fought for the past 30 years, our foreign policy was based off of Israel.
Yeah,
we did everything for them. We gave them the most money out of any other country in the world.
Yep.
To find out that they did that to us. But then, like, you got to go back to, I like to try to compare it that I'm trying to say that the MLK thing, they're trying to, like, compare that to, like, P. Diddy today, who just got arrested. Like, they're trying to say, like, I don't know. With, like, the, I don't know how deep you want me to go on that, though. We're trying to stay on topic.
Oh, we could do it. We could go finish off on this. What you said about P. Diddy? Sure, go ahead.
So, like, P. Diddy, Epstein Island, same thing. Epstein, Mossad agent. His dad's a Mossad agent. I mean, same thing. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so there was I don't know if it was a reporter or, like, someone that, when they were prosecuting a federal case, I think his last name was Acosta or something, they said that Epstein was a intelligence asset. That's how they identified him. Yeah. Intelligence asset. And he has a last name.
Well, he's kind of
Epstein.
Like, I don't know if you've seen Game of Thrones, but he's kind of like the Varys of, like, the modern day. Like, he just, like, knows all these different, like, dignitaries, I guess I'll call them. Yeah. And they all interact with him. I forget what his actual job was. I know he's some kind of, like, maybe a hedge fund manager or something. Like, what did he?
That's what Epstein was. He was a hedge fund manager, technically.
Yeah. So, like, I mean, he probably saw all the, where the money was actually going.
Yeah, and it
probably
people think that was like a CIA operation, was the Epstein Island thing.
Yep. Because you get dirt on people and stuff.
Yeah,
not to cut you off.
That's how you do it. I mean, if AIPAC don't work, you can't fund a politician to bribe them to do your bidding. You take them to the Epstein Island and you get blackmail on them.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what people are going to be exposed to. I mean, they can't connect the dots, and somehow Epstein killed himself. But yeah, I mean, it's
tragic.
It might be coming out here sometime this year. We're going to have an interesting year this year.
Epstein was just trying to troll everybody.
I'm not trying to go too deep on this stuff.
There's no way to believe I actually killed myself.
Yeah. And just so happens that all 3 security cameras just happen to all go down at the same exact time, and both security guards just happen to fall asleep at the same exact time.
I can believe the security guards go to sleep. And how do all the towers, how do all the cameras go down?
Yeah.
And, like, at some point, we gotta say, with all circumstantial evidence, we gotta say, okay, come on. Just like them holding, like, why are you redacting parts of this investigation from over 50 years ago?
Yeah.
Let's see, 2,140 documents, partially or fully redacted. These are the juicy ones, but the other 300,000 ones could go.
Well, it's also like, do you really need 300,000 documents for an investigation?
I don't know.
It might be that they inflated the document count, so people are like, well, it's only 0.1% of them that's not revealed. Meanwhile, it's like the whole investigation. You know what I mean?
It's just like one page is like an exclamation point.
Yeah.
This
person shot him. The end.
Like, seriously.
There's 2
when
shooters.
You get that weird thing, it's just like page 1 or 2 of 1 or 2 of 2. And it's just like a blank page.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like our CIA operations actually worth it if they're doing that,
All right, we are already moving on to the next topic. Could you see aliens as, like, angels in spaceships?
Yeah, I mean, that's what. So basically, prior to World War II, really, or prior to prior to World War II, basically everyone always attributed everything in the sky that just looked odd as angels and all that, like, the spiritual stuff, because it was ever since World War II, it kind of went to that avenue of like, oh, UFOs, spaces, and all that. I think everything they're trying to do now is like bring you away further from God. They're trying to have a distraction of like, oh, it's space, it's aliens, not angels, it's this, not that. Like everything that in society today is just trying to move you further and further and further away from God. That's all they're trying to do.
Secularism almost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're just trying to get you further away from it and everything in all aspects.
That was my opinion at one point too.
And that's how we feel like with this, like with the kid thing, with no one's having kids. Well, why? Well, it's not worth having kids. I'd rather have my own money. I'd rather have my own fun. I'd rather go on vacations. I'd rather do this, that, and the other, and have all the materialistic society and do all that rather than having a kid. Like, it's not fun. It's not worth it. But I mean, what is the right thing to do? You know, I mean, I just think all that stuff's like an idol worship, you know, like money's your idol, or, you know, being selfish and greedy yourself is an idol, you know, but just brings you further away from what you're supposed to do. Because I mean, when you look at the Bible, it wasn't about, oh, what was your career? What was, how many trips did you go on? How much money did you have? Do you have a second house in Florida? Did you have a boat? Like, you know, that wasn't a thing. So I always think it's just trying to bring you away from it, because it was all about like family, and, you know, that's basically all it was about. It was like your family. So.
And if it is that push for secularism, wouldn't you want to know?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, seriously, like if it is a genuine world order type situation or a revelation type thing where the Antichrist is pulling things towards a certain kind of thing,
yeah,
it would probably be in those documents, right? Like
maybe
because like it's like if we're making that shift of calling it spiritual things to UFOs and stuff like that, like that has to be a concerted effort, right? Like there are genuine people, like organizational movements to make that thing happen. You know what I mean? So like it would be in those documents, you know? Yeah,
you're right. So, that will make a huge shift if that. I think what's in those documents can make a huge polarizing shift in the world.
I'm excited.
Me too. And that's the whole thing. That's why I say I'm a truth seeker. Like, it's so funny because like prior to me even being like looking at Israel and that, I was actually like I was like, okay, I support Israel, because like that's who like my family, like my family is like one of them. Like they support Israel and the Jewish people, and they believe that they are God's chosen people. And when I brought that up to them, you would think you're looking at Satan himself. I'm telling you, dude.
Yeah. You can't say anything bad about it at all.
I can, if I touch on it, oh my goodness, they think the devil possessed me.
Yeah.
It's just kind of scary. And the whole thing was like, I was like, I don't care what it is. Like, just tell me the truth. I want to know the truth. Just give it to me. That's all I want to know. I don't care how hard it is, how bad it blows up my worldview or how I see things. I just want to know the truth. And that's what it's pointing to.
Yeah. Sounds like a dysfunctional marriage. Just tell me the truth.
Yeah. No, my wife's good. My wife's good. My wife's fine. It's my family. Like,
I know.
You know.
He's that's what it sounds like, though. It's
it's like a marriage, though. Yeah, you're right. But like, oh my goodness, could you like? It's just like, yeah. I mean, I could talk about Satan, and I could talk about, you know, Russia, or as soon as you start talking about Israel or the Jewish people, oh my god. Don't say it. You know, like that's just like a big no-no, you know?
We're going to be getting into something here, question number 4, very similar to what we've been talking about here. So we're going to go ahead and do our next shot if you're ready.
Okay.
You don't have to spin it this time. You just kind of pick whatever one you want.
Oh, boy. Same thing.
Oh, wow. Great timing with this question.
Yeah, I thought it was tequila.
Another tequila. No, it's not. I was thinking about doing that to you, but I didn't.
I like Jones's idea of putting them in the middle.
I mean, that's what I thought it was for.
I mean, I'm learning how to use this thing as you are.
Look at that. That's a good contribution right there. That's probably going to be like that for every episode now.
Yeah, that's right, baby.
You're actually the first person to say
I made my imprint on this
You're the
podcast.
innovator, dude.
You actually have.
All right. Question number 4. Who is the deep state, and who is really in control of the government?
And you guys really just did that to me, huh?
Yeah.
You guys just really want to know.
I want to know.
I want to know.
Lay it on. I just want to know the truth.
Yeah.
I will say that this is one of the last major governmental stuff. There's one at the very end that's kind of government related, but this is the last one to kind of get what you wanted to say about it in.
Yeah, and that's that's what I want to like, emphasize is, though, like when I say the word Jew or Jewish, I do not mean all of them. You can't blanket everyone. Like the people down in the city at the synagogue, no, they're not part of it. Like, do not like think that if I say that when I say that word Jew or Jewish, like it's just like me saying, like, you know, Biden's a Catholic. He's not a true Catholic. That dude's like, I think he's evil. I think like he's not good. He's no good. but like he's not a true Catholic. He just uses that banner. He waves and says, "I'm a Catholic. I'm the Catholic president." You know, like I think he just uses that as like his religion. But he's not a true Catholic. That's what I'm saying about these people when I say the Jews or Israel and that. Like, we want to talk about the immigration. Like, that was one of our big things we talked about in this podcast was immigration. Well, guess who's the Department of Homeland Security who ran it prior to the administration now? Alejandro Mayorkas. Guess what he was?
Get Alejandro up here.
And guess who he is?
Can you help me spell that?
Yeah.
Alejandro's
Alejandro.
And then Mayorkas is M-A right there.
Just right there.
There he is.
Politician.
Screen.
Click on his
Who is this
Wikipedia.
person? I'm not. This is the first time hearing this, so give me the.
Yeah, I'm here
mind.
to learn.
He should be a Jewish person. His parents or his ancestors were in the Holocaust.
Havana, Cuba.
Havana, Hunana.
That's what he claims.
Okay, so what about this guy?
He's just a Jewish person that has ancestors from the Holocaust. So basically, I'm just saying that he was early life here. Let's see.
He was a Cuban Jew of Sephardi from the former Ottoman Empire, present day Turkey and Greece.
Yep,
and Poland background.
Ashkenazi Poland background. Ashkenazi Jews like a huge thing.
So you're convinced that this is a like dynastic type of implant rather than a like you look at something like Blackstone, I think it is. Can
you explain that?
Can you type in? Is it? I think it's Black Rock.
Yeah.
Black Rock. Yeah. Do you think that Black Rock has anything to do with the Deep State?
Look who runs Black Rock.
Who runs Black Rock?
For those back at home,
I don't know who runs Black Rock. I don't know who runs Black Rock.
For those not familiar, Black Rock is an investment company. It controls like everything.
They own like Ukraine. They bought all the stuff in Ukraine basically too.
So what does Black Rock do?
They're the largest investment firm. They own more assets than like countries themselves. And they bought, from housing, the stock market, like everything in the stock market, they're the biggest holder of like stock market, like Coca-Cola or whatever. It's BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street. I think it's them three. They all own all the shares on the stock market. And so basically our 401ks go to these companies and so that they can have more share in voting. And that's why they control which way stuff goes and which direction everything goes. But
How the heck are they only 229th on the Fortune 500?
Yeah, really.
That's crazy.
Look at there's Larry Fink.
What's up?
Sorry? Look up Larry Fink. Click on Larry Fink's name right down here.
Down here. Sorry.
I thought it was Larry Page. Maybe it's Larry Fink. He's a Jew.
Well, let's look it up. Click on him. I mean, I want to see it. I mean, like, this is true. I'm actually genuinely interested.
He's right there. 3 children in a Jewish family.
Wow, what the fuck?
So basically, we're going to spend a long time on this podcast looking up every single person because every single person that I would bring up or talk about is. I want people to go out there and do their own research, though, and look at it. But I mean, I'm not saying all Jews are bad, though. Mm-hmm. But they're the ones running and controlling society. You look at Mark Zuckerberg, the CEO of Google, YouTube, BlackRock. You look at Disney. You look at all the banks, even in all the government installations, like Secretary of State Anthony Blinken. He had everything to do with Ukraine, with our wars and that, and he was too. He's Jewish as well. Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, he's Jewish as well. But I mean, they're using that banner, and they're just a well-orchestrated elite group at the top of society that's just running us into the ground for some reason. I don't know why. Just them, though. Not everyone.
So let's suppose that all this is true. What benefit do they gain by running us into the ground?
Well, it goes back to the Bible. It's like all about religion. It's like a religious word between like good and evil. That's what it goes back to, because you got to go back. I think it's like the book of Deuteronomy, because they don't look at the New Testament. They don't believe in Jesus Christ. They look at the Old Testament. That's what they live by, is that in the Talmud. And when you look at the Old Testament, it says that like they're the people, they're God's chosen people, they're Israel. So if you're God's chosen people, you're better than everyone else, right? You're better than you and me and all three of us sitting here, unless like you're an actual Jew.
I never really understood that concept. That's always been kind of frustrating to me. Like, how can one person be better than another person? Well, that's what really upsets me about the immigration crisis, which I hate coming back to. But that frustrates me. I feel like everybody should just be in this together. We should just be all equal, one nation, right? We should just be one planets at this point. But instead, we're worried about each other still for some reason.
Just to point out, is this exactly what you're thinking about right here? Deuteronomy.
There are many nations on this earth. He who chooses only Israel to be his very own, but you are the weakest of all nations. The Lord chose you because he loves you and made. There's another one that says like there will be like 7 great nations against you, and that you shall destroy every single one of them and have no mercy on them. Basically, it's Deuteronomy something.
You want me to look that one up?
Yeah, look it up. It's like Deuteronomy. Type in Deuteronomy. 7 nations. Yeah.
You were singing 7 Nation Army. I just heard you. That's funny.
I was wondering if you were gonna get that.
So this is specifically referring to the tribes that inhabited the area now known as Israel, Palestine. Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
Is there actual like there should be like Deuteronomy 7? Look up Deuteronomy 7. Like look at the actual like scripture of it and see if we can see that. It says, I don't know if we want to read it or how we want to do it.
Synopsis brings you to land you're about to enter and occupy. There's a way nation before you. 7 nations mightier, more numerous than you.
And so you gotta imagine, put yourself in the shoe of a Jew, and that you're reading this book because the New Testament never happened to them. They never believed Jesus came back and there's a Messiah. They believed the Messiah is still coming. So you're reading this. It says that 7 great nations, mightier and more numerous than you. And when the Lord your God gives them over to you and you defeat them, you must utterly destroy them. Make no covenant with them and show them no mercy. Look at Gaza. Look at the Palestinians. They're beasts. They will not stop killing them. You shall have no covenant. You shall show them no mercy. Do no intermarry with them, giving your daughters to their sons or taking their daughters for your sons. For that would turn away your children from following me to serve other gods.
Can we stop real quick? This is the Bible?
Yes.
What the fuck?
The Old Testament. Yeah.
This is God's chosen people, and this is what people believe.
Can we rewind? That is the craziest. If you didn't hate the Bible or religion before, that'll make you pretty upset. Can you scroll up? I can't believe that this is in the Bible. This is in the Bible. This is the real Bible, not like
this is Deuteronomy 7. Yeah, straight up. 4th book of the Bible.
7 nations, mightier and more numerous than you, and when your Lord gives them over to you, you will defeat them. You must utterly destroy them. Show them no mercy. How is that? How can I am not a God person. How can somebody good say that to some group of people?
Yeah, so if you're a Jewish person today, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Like, those people below you, we're like cattle to them. Like, if you look at the Talmud, it's even worse. It's like crazy.
Okay, devil's advocate real quick. Joke there, pun. Not to be punny, but devil's advocate. This is also to a specific set of people at a specific point in time talking about specific people.
Did God say this?
This is Moses recounting everything from the last 3 books that just happened, all the laws and everything, before he passes away and hands it to Joshua, who is his chosen heir, before they go to this place, okay? So he is specifically speaking to Joshua and the Israelites, saying, hey, these guys, the Hittites, the Girgashites, the Amorites, the Canaanites, these are the ones that you're going to wipe out and take their land straight up. There's no sugarcoating it. This is exactly what he's saying. So this is specifically at that point in time in history what he was telling them. Let me be clear too that these people specifically don't exist anymore, but their descendants do.
Okay. So they might claim that we're descendants of Canaanites or whatever, the sons of Cain. Because there's like, what is it, Cain and
Abel?
But who's the other one too?
Seth.
Yep. So it's all like the sons of Seth. Because who came from Seth? Isaac.
The one he had the covenant with Isaac,
so
Abraham.
All them, that's who the Jews believe that they're from.
Yes.
Everyone else from Cain, that's who they believe that all the other 7 nations are from, and all of us today currently are from. That's what they believe. I mean, there's clips. I should have actually had that clip for us to look at.
We can take a moment and find it. You want to try and find it? We can try and find it. Yeah, we can try and find it.
There was a clip of them talking about them actually saying that they're from the descendants of Isaac and we're not.
Sure, give them the information.
Oh, really? I got to see that. Before I look this up,
saying that.
Before I look this up,
listen to it.
Because we're going to probably cut this part while we look it up. I just want to say real quick that to say that this is a modern thing still happening is an interpretation that I think is in bad faith. Not to you personally. I'm just saying that if a Jewish person were to read that part and say, we need to be doing this right now, that is not what the Bible is trying to say.
Because they're not doing that to us.
Yeah, well, if they're saying about this about any group of people right now, you're wrong, because this is not talking about those people. This is talking about specific people 3,000 or 4,000 years ago, and it's still genocide. It's still wrong by my modern standards. Yeah. But to say that that's about America or about Germany or whoever, right? Yeah. It's incorrect. It is incorrect. Now, if somebody is
Yeah.
interpreting it that way,
I agree.
they might be
Yeah.
doing that.
Yeah, they might be.
Which we're going to find out in this clip right now that we're going to look up. I want to make it clear.
Oh shit!
I want to make it clear that that's not what this is talking about. So to you
Correct.
saying like,
I
do you
agree.
hate? Do
You
you
don't have to
hate?
put that back. You can
If
just-
you didn't hate religion before, hate it now. That's still not accurate because that's not talking about this. It's not talking about modern period. Does that make
Well,
sense?
Okay, yeah,
What I'm getting at? Okay.
yeah, that makes more
Look at the
sense.
Talmud.
Okay, this is the other part of the question I wanted to ask. We're gonna go to 55.
I think it's the most off. This
No,
is
no,
probably the most
we're-
off track we've been in a
You know,
while.
I don't even know where the track is right now. It's like it's foggy, it's dark. I have like a lantern, and I'm
Yeah.
trying to get this train back onto the tracks. Okay, why does Kanye believe what he believes?
You just want to rewind like a couple minutes ago, and we'll just play it again.
So is that what you think he got? You think he got blackpilled? He got woke, and like he figured
did.
it out.
He did, and then they tried to make him seem like he was crazy. So, dude, go back. So if you want to go back through it, Kanye West, who's his record label? Who's P Diddy's record label? Who's
Capital?
Who's
No,
all
not Capital.
Who's all the rap music industries? Who owns rap music industry? Jewish people. Who owns Pornhub? Who owns Hollywood? Who's the guy that diddled people out in Hollywood that was having sex with the actors?
So like
Harvey Weinstein. Weinstein.
Here's my biggest
thing.
Here's my biggest kind of counter argument to that.
Yeah.
If you weren't even going to look at like the I guess like the evidence aspect of it, like you're saying all these people, they come from this, background. How are they all in on it? Like, how is one person not kind of dissented and said, hey, they're all doing this thing, we should probably pay attention to it? How are they all in on it?
Yeah, in addition to just one more point to that, like how do we know they're not just wildly successful people? Maybe the ethics and morals of Jewish society made it so that way they became wildly successful and were given these points
Ever
of
since
power.
the 1400s, they've been like that.
Yeah.
So I
Ever
can,
since the 1400s, they've been at the top of societies.
you have convinced
That's
me
how they
in
always
this,
ever been.
you convinced me in the aspect that there are it is very odd that there are a lot of
who killed
high
Jesus?
notoriety positions,
that far back.
high wealth positions that are Jewish people. But at the same time, I think at that kind of scale, it would be much more logical for me to believe that they are just born into that kind of wealth, or they have the connections to obtain that. Like if they go and they try and like promote their business, like they're in the rap industry or whatever else, if they have the connections to make that happen because they have relatives or other people in their religious sphere that they can connect with, that would make sense to me. But I still am not convinced that they are all in on it, and that's kind of my disconnect.
You can't say all. That's bad.
Well, I'm not saying that aspect.
I was trying to say like a control group.
The people at the very, very top, right? That's what I'm
Yeah.
talking about, right?
I think that they're well orchestrated. I think that they're actually all in it. But I mean, like, for me to explain that to make it better, I mean, if you got a job, they're only going to give jobs to other Jews. They're only going to give to each other, and they're going to give them all into the top positions. I mean, I don't know how better else way to explain it, because I mean, you just got to look at. I mean, trying to think of a good way to explain this for you to say that they're all in on it.
It's tough. I'm not expecting you to be able to, because like you don't have, you're not.
But you look at any aspect of society. From the economy, from the banks, from the government. I mean, there's way more people in the government. I can give you a list of people that are in the government that are they claim Jewish faith at least.
Right.
And then and they're all a lot like dual citizens too. They claim dual citizenship as well to Israel and America. And then like to the Hollywood, to the rap music label industry, to Facebook, to YouTube, whatever you want to name. Look up whatever company you want to look up and just see who's running it or who owns it. Pfizer, Moderna, the CDC, everything. They're all there's all Jews in charge of everything in every single aspect of society. So, I mean, is it just an anomaly? But like, they've been doing this since history's begun. I like to go back to like who killed Jesus, the Sadducees and Pharisees, and who were they? The wealthiest, top of the political power. They were all that ever since the biblical times. So it's never changed. They've always been there the whole entire way through it. Through what? I don't know. Deception? What is it? I don't know. I mean, they get there somehow.
It's kind of hard to topple somebody who's at the top if they're doing it economically,
right?
Instead of like they're projecting their power directly,
right?
You know? I wish I had answers for you. I mean, I know you're giving me some really interesting, bits
Something
of
to look
information
into.
that I haven't.
Like I don't want people to just take my word for it. You do your own research and Google it and see who you come up with. And like another thing is, we gotta go. Like I like to go back into history and look at the history part of it too. Like what happened in like 1920 in Russia, the Bolshevik Revolution, and guess who the Bolsheviks were? Jews, and they killed how many Christians? Like I forget. I don't know if it was like the figure was like 20-some million or 60 million or something. It was some crazy number they killed of Christians, but they don't ever talk about that. The only thing we were taught in high school was Holocaust. 6 million. That's the only thing we ever taught. The only thing we ever learned about. We never learned about Russia and like how they had a, the Bolshevik Revolution, who were all Jews that did that or claimed that, and then whenever you had the fall of Russia. Well, guess what happened in the 1990s? Do you know whenever Russia fell was 1990 something? Yeah, so they fell then. But guess what else was created then? Ukraine. Ukraine was created in the 90s. People act like Ukraine's this country that has like a sovereign nation. They're not. They're part of Russia. So basically, if you're the Jews in Russia and you're like, hey, we need a place to go. We're about to fall. We're going to create Ukraine. We're going to keep Ukraine going. And then it also went to America as well. But like they use Ukraine too, and that's the most corrupt country in Europe right now. People say that's the most corrupt country out there is Ukraine. And then how did Israel get its founding? When Israel was made, see Christians and the MAGA Christians and all that, they think Israel has always been there since the beginning of time, which it has been. Like that area is like, I guess, original Israel, but it's been conquered many times over by many empires and many areas. But this nation, Israel, that we know today has not been known since 1948. That's when it was founded by Jacob Rothschild in the British Parliament. He's the one that got the land for them. So 1948 for Israel. That's why they're so mad. It's a brand new country. And same with Ukraine since 1990s. Brand new country. And that's why Russia's fighting over it. And just like what people were fighting Israel for, because they just kicked them out and just said, nope, this is our land now. Causing issues. And those are the biggest two issues we have in this world. And it all somehow goes back to the Jews and all that. So
I think it's a little messier in that personally. Just specifically in the Ukraine thing, because the Kievan Rus were always a thing too. Like, I mean, think about the concept of a nation wasn't a thing until the Industrial Revolution. It was really just city states who had different families that ruled over different city states and stuff too. Kievan Rus are like that too, right? Like that's a very there's a reason why there's a city there in Kiev. Right, like it's a great place for people to congregate, right? And that gives power and things like that. And to your point, it's very odd that it's very specific types of people who identify a specific way,
isn't it?
That cause different things to happen in the 90s.
But they're the smallest population in the entire globe.
I just want to say it's specifically Russian territory is it's not that it was always that way. And Putin tries to use that historical argument too. But if you go far enough back in the history, it was its own distinct, unique thing too. Same with Israel too. Like I think it was its own. There was many times that it was Babylonian or Assyrian or before
Ottoman
that
Empire.
Right, and there was or Roman, whatever, or its own independent empire. And I think to make a historical argument for anything, it's not always in good faith, right? Like people will spin things the way it needs to be. Now, to your point, it is very odd that it is very specific identifications that seem to be in charge of things.
It is. I had the hardest thing to wrestle with that. Like, I'm not telling you, like, I was just like, oh my goodness. Like I was upset looking at all this. I was like, oh no. Like, look up who owns Pornhub. It's a Jewish rabbi. Look who owns OnlyFans. If you think that stuff's cool and good for society, but why are they promoting that stuff then? Like, why is that all happening? Like, it's like the degradation of the moral cloth of our society. And I don't think it's right. But I mean, nobody can ever question it because you have that banner and you can hide behind it. And if you ever say one thing about it, you're getting deplatformed off of YouTube.
That's true.
You are. I mean, it is what it is. And that's the cold, hard facts. But
well, Shot Takes audience, it's been nice knowing you.
That's right. That's right. I mean, that's what it is. I'm telling you, I was a pro-Israel guy before, like, not that long ago. But until I started seeing this stuff, I'm like, oh my goodness. I just wanted to know the truth. And this is where it led me to. And it's kind of scary. It's not like I had a vendetta against them. I don't even know any Jewish people around here. I don't know them. Like, I don't even see anyone ever. I had one kid in school, maybe he was a nice kid, but like, I don't know. It's not like I see him every day. They're like 0.6 of the global population, 0.06. But actually, if you go like New Jersey, There's whole communities of that's all it is. Like a community, like they bought all the property. Their development is Jews only. They have their own Jewish plumber, their own Jewish doctor, their own
That's
Jewish
a problem
dentist.
too. I hate that kind
Is
of
that
stuff.
actually a thing? I didn't know
But
that was a thing.
they can do it because they're the biggest victims in the world.
Okay.
We cannot do that. If we had white people doing that or black people doing that, God forbid we do that. You know, it's like now that I said that, go back to Martin Luther King.
Okay.
And how how Martin Luther King wanted to have, like the civil rights movement, how white people and black people segregated. Well, guess what the issue was? That black people were segregated. Because you know why?
Why?
Because how they said white people can use black people's stuff, but black people can never use white people's stuff, right? Like water fountains.
Right.
So think about like the bus. White people can use the black people bus. You guys sit in the back of the bus, right? But like
in the black bus?
Yeah, remember that?
I don't remember that.
Rosa Parks. Rosa Parks.
No, I said the black
I'm
people
not getting up and getting to the back.
Black
remember?
people in the white bus, right?
I don't know if it was mixed or not, but basically,
my point
is like you have like black owners. The black people owned the tailors, the restaurants, all the businesses in that area, and they were wealthy. Mm-hmm. It was all the black people that were taking care of each other. You had wealthy black people that they had all the money and they were taking care of each other. It was probably a decent, thriving community. Mm-hmm. Well, then what they want to end that segregation because we got to take their money too, and we can't have them be the owners.
Yeah.
But they made it seem that they were actually getting the benefit of it, and that they were actually going to get out of like poverty, and really it just put them into poverty.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Nobody talks about this. It's really under talked about. But what happened in Tulsa too?
Yes.
Black Wall Street just in a day, just like they decided that needs to go away.
Correct.
Too many black people are getting rich.
There's too many black people getting rich.
In Tulsa, there was like basically a black only community that was just rich, well-to-do people. They were starting to invest in themselves and really starting to take over. Mm-hmm. Immediately broken apart. Race war happened, killed all these people, reallocated all their resources. Dude, it's ridiculous.
You're talking about black oppression. So that's why you have like Martin Luther King and Malcolm X finally realizing what happened, and they all had a meeting in JFK's office.
You mentioned this.
I'm laughing because holy shit, this all comes together, dude. This is crazy.
Yeah. That's the thing, though. Like I'm not trying to
we're sitting here building the puzzle like together. This is like
it all comes together, dude. This is freaking nuts.
And that's what I'm trying to say. Like I'm not trying to be this guy that's some like crazy conspiracy theorist, but like, I'm a truth seeker. I'm trying to be as genuine and authentic as I can possibly be. I'm not trying to sell you anything.
And I respect that because obviously it is very hard to talk about topics like this.
Yeah.
And come from you seem like you have genuinely done some research into it, right?
Yeah.
It's like I haven't looked into this kind of stuff. I have never stayed up late at night looking at this stuff. So that's why I wanted to talk to you so that I can see what the most compelling arguments are for the stuff that you believe in. And I could certainly see that these are some really odd occurrences that I'm sure have a reason. I'm not sure what that is.
Yeah.
I could certainly see your reason for it because that does make some sense. It does make some sense.
Yeah. And I just don't want people going out there shaving their heads bald and getting a swastika tattooed on them or something, going crazy.
Yeah.
That's not the approach either.
Because Jewish people were actually were victims. Like they did have their fair share of getting raped and getting murdered and getting crucified. Like they called them pogroms or something like that. There's a pogrom or something where they actually they were bad to Jews. Like, and throughout history, they were victims. I mean, they were absolutely victimized and destroyed. Like they had their fair share of their own atrocities, but so did the black people, so did the Italian people, so did the Irish people, so did the Armenian people. I mean, every sect of society had their own fair share of atrocities. It's not just one. And you gotta include the Jews. They did have their fair share as well. So, I mean, that's why there's like a lot of hate there too throughout everything. But like that's why I go back to like rap music label. What are they doing now? They had a Martin Luther King movement, and now you have rap music labels. What are they rapping about? Killing each other, killing blacks on black, killing each other, drugs, just trying to oppress them, try to keep them oppressed. They don't want them to come up. And Martin Luther King and Malcolm X might have had a thing going there. That's why I got rid of them, because they were about to unite.
I would never expected that connection to be drawn whenever I brought up like the JFK MLK connection.
I know,
but I didn't either.
But
because what's popular is not always true, and what's true is not always popular.
But what I will say, because like not everybody in the audience is going to be as rationally minded. I will say that again, what he was saying, don't go out and start hating Jewish people.
Yeah,
because
you don't
whatever.
Absolutely. I don't hate anybody.
Yeah,
just because I'm just pointing it out. I have, like, as a Christian, I don't hate anybody. I do not hate Jews. I don't. Like, if there was a person that they needed help, I'm helping them.
Yeah.
Just like anybody else in society. I don't care if you're an atheist. I don't care if you're a Mormon. I don't care if you're whatever. You're all the same because they're all God's chosen people, God's people. Because you can accept God at any single day, Jesus any single day. That's how I feel. That's my opinion, though.
So I guess not to throw this even more off topic, but just to say then, so we're all riled up about this now. Like, we're like, holy crap, all this stuff's like, all this ties in together. Yeah. So what do we do about it? Because like what you're saying is the thing you don't do is go and start hating an entire group of people, right? So what is the answer in your opinion? Okay, if we go that direction with it, Tim?
That's what I was going to go with.
Okay, perfect. So what is the answer in your opinion then? Like, how do you fix that?
Yeah, I mean, like that is a.
I think knowledge, just having knowledge of it, but like explain it to people so that they don't go out wanting to like cause harm, because that's how you get bad things happen.
Sure.
And I haven't really. That's why I like people have knowledge and education. That's the first thing and foremost. But I mean, just give it a different label instead of attributing it to like that. It's a good way of like integrating them all together. But like, how about just the people that are actually doing the problem, not the people like your accountant down the street? He's not an issue. It's like the Department of Homeland Security. He's the one that's letting all the illegal immigrants in there being a criminal. Just throw them in jail.
Yeah.
Prosecute them all, throw them all in jail, get rid of all the problems. You're good. I mean, but I mean, you have a whole country waging war trying to get us into a war with Iran right now. So I mean,
sure.
It's bad. I mean,
and that's the frustrating thing, right? Because like it's a sensitive topic, but like it involves every voting American's mind. Like you are all responsible to have some kind of opinion on it because our money is going towards it. We are going to choose a side in relation to these conflicts.
Taxpayer dollars been going to it forever. Yeah,
and I think that you should feel comfortable talking about stuff without being an asshole, right? Yeah. You shouldn't be an asshole about it. You should just be as pragmatic and realistic about the situation and be willing to look at all factors in relation to why it is exactly we're doing. I don't have a strong stance myself, but that's why I want to talk to somebody like you who has a strong stance on why they believe that Israel,
Hopefully I planted a mustard seed in you to make you look at something possibly.
I mean, like, I think I'm going to keep looking for knowledge. Hopefully I can talk to somebody on the exact opposite end of the spectrum. I wish you have someone
that's better than me at that, more well-versed.
Like I said, I'd like to talk to somebody who has the exact opposite opinions. That would be ideal for me.
Perfect.
To try and be able to just use some of your arguments that you brought up.
I would love to
see what their responses are, or even somebody in the comments that has very strong opinions on your side.
I'd like to be here because I want to know it. Help me. I'd love to change. I've been changing. I'm more of a person that can change his opinion. Like, I'm okay. Like, because like people like the voters for Trump, they're old, 50 plus years old, 40 plus years old. They can't teach an old dog new tricks.
Right.
Israel's our greatest ally. Jews are God's chosen people. We're voting for Trump. Like, that's just like change. You got to have an open mind.
Yeah.
And it's how do you get people to have that open mind to see it? Is it going to be the JFK files when you find out that Israel killed your president, one of the most favorite presidents in the entire United States history, and the other ones, and it could reveal that. I mean, we'll see. I think it's a very interesting year.
Yeah.
But I also have a theory about my World War II to present day. I have a thing about that I looked into.
Sure. I will truncate one of our questions. No, go ahead. I'm interested.
It's like probably 5 minutes or 10 minutes.
No, go ahead. Tell me about it.
I want to hear it.
This is so crazy. Because you know how they say...
shit, I'm knocking shit over. All right. Go ahead.
You know how they say history doesn't like always repeat, but it rhymes?
Yeah.
So let's talk about World War II.
Okay.
And I'm going to try to set this up the best way I can set it up.
Sure.
We're going to start with Adolf Hitler in Germany because they're the ones that started World War II, basically. And we're going to talk about Ukraine and Russia today. So that's who I'm going to try and go back and forth between. We're going to go between Hitler and Poland, and we're going to go with Russia and Ukraine.
Okay.
So Hitler and Poland, prior to World War II, they liked each other. There was no issues. They were friends. They actually loved each other. But then guess what happened? The Polish president died. Don't know how, don't know what. He died. New president put in there in Poland. Guess what? I hate Adolf Hitler. You try one thing, I'm going to kill you. Like, do not try to do anything. Because at that moment, at that time, there was a piece of Germany surrounded by Poland. From World War I, they got taken apart, kind of parts were taken apart from Germany. So there was a piece of Germany that was Germans in there, but they were being like brutalized. Fast forward to 2014. We had Ukraine. Go back to Ukraine. There was a neutral president. They were they say pro-Russian, but it was neutral. Ukrainian president loved Putin, nice to him. They had a good relationship, good rapport. Well, then 2014, what happened? The Obama administration, they go in there with, what's her name? Victoria Nuland, who I don't know for sure, possibly a Jew. I'm not sure. They go in there, color revolution, uphold the whole thing and put Zelensky in there, a Jew who's in there. But don't worry about that. Jews as much anyway. But now you have Ukraine and Russia saying, I hate you, Russia. Don't ever come in here. You're not taking this land, Crimea. We don't want you taking it over. This is not yours. We'll attack you, blah, 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 blah. Go back to World War II. What did Adolf Hitler do? Goes into Poland, blitzkrieg, takes it over. And fast forward to 2014 or 2023, 2022. Putin goes into Ukraine. Same exact thing. But guess what? Putin stopped. He didn't just take over Ukraine. He just took over a certain piece and stopped. Back in World War II, Hitler took over Poland and completely captured it and then pushed back England and all that. So now it looks like we have a couple similarities here of like a precursor to a world war. They're just rhyming. They're just matching up a little bit. Do you see that, or am I just making that up?
So then it comes back to the previous point. If we become isolationist, like America was back in World War II, would that not lead us to World War II faster?
So the only way we got into World War II was France and Britain were getting their butts kicked by Germany. They couldn't even fight. They actually had a period of time where they were just trying to regroup, and they're begging the United States to help them out,
right,
because they couldn't fight. They needed our help to even get into the war. Mm-hmm. What's happening today? Ukraine begging us to come and help them. Maybe Britain too, and like European Union, they can't go over and help them because they know they'll get their butts kicked.
Do you think we made the wrong decision back in World War II?
That's for some people to debate. I mean, the whole thing is, though, your government elementary school with our young minds, fragile, open minds, we were told that it was a good thing. But guess who our greatest ally was? Soviet Union, Russia, the communist nation. Aren't we fighting communism and fascism with Germany? But why did we want to fight Hitler? Was it because he was really fascist or communist, or because he was kicking out Jews out of the country and the Rothschilds and took over the banking system and started his own economy and made himself a world superpower? They were from zero to hero in a couple years. I don't know. I mean, that's what people are debating, But it doesn't make sense why we would be allied with communist Stalinist Russia who had gulags, but we'll be against Hitler. Why wouldn't Germany and Soviet Union be allies against all of us?
I couldn't pretend to know all the different reasons behind it. I would have to expect that it's alliance made out of necessity, if anything. Because the fact that they even held off both of our countries at the same time shows how powerful they were.
Indeed.
Correct. And they didn't have a lot of time either, because from World War I, they were decimated.
They were in debt.
So
their land was destroyed. They were in debt. Yeah. Somehow became a military superpower still out of that.
There's news articles I can probably pull up. I can probably find on my phone about basically America boycotted Germany. Okay. And Germany boycotted Jewish goods. That was a big thing. And they did arrest the Rothschilds, hold a ransom on them, and then gave them up. And it was all about they did have issues, Jews and Germans. That was a big problem back then. Same problem then. But I mean, what was prior to Hitler coming into power, what happened prior to Germany? The Weimar Republic. And what was the Weimar Republic like? Was it a good area to be in?
I actually don't know much about that.
So basically, the Weimar Republic was a bad area. It's basically America 2025. You got transgenders, you got child prostitution, you got drug use like crazy, you got mass inflation. Weimar Republic went straight up in inflation. You had wheelbarrows of cash, buying loaves of bread, same thing. And that's what we're almost following those footsteps of history repeating itself, which is kind of scary, if you ask me.
Well, we'll get into the transgender type stuff because obviously we have different opinions on that stuff. But,
yeah, exactly. So,
but either way, we can move on to the next topic here. Are you ready?
No, I'm done. Yeah, that was good. I just want to try and put those two similarities together of World War II and World War III. People can see how that's kind of working out. But if that's not going to work out with Ukraine and Russia, they're going to try to do Israel and Iran and America and Iran. They're going to try to push that one maybe next.
I think that kind of stuff's always happening at all times. It's just a matter of do the dominoes line up perfectly, right? The dominoes will always fall. The question is, do you get enough dominoes in a row to cause World War III?
Yeah,
exactly.
The kindling is where.
But the whole thing is, back then they didn't have information like we do today.
Yes.
Something like this podcast, they never had that. back in World War II era. So if people didn't know better, they had
the
no
lapse
idea.
the lapse of information is a key detail.
Yes.
That's it.
And I think the information exchange has actually made wars much more difficult. The fact that somebody like Trump can exist as a president now is actually kind of astounding because of how much negative press he got. I think that he is gotten so much negative press that actually works to his advantage, and everything's just kind of noise.
Yeah.
Right. But if you were to do one bad thing as somebody who is trying to be politically correct, you would get roasted over the coals.
Oh yeah.
For anything you did that was
you ain't kidding.
May have been advantageous for your country or whatever else, but if it harmed some demographic, they would, put you on the fire for it, for sure.
Yeah.
It is an interesting aspect of modern culture and how that affects modern war now too. But let's move on to the next topic. All right. Number 5. You ready, Dave?
All right. Complete left turn, but I'm excited about this one.
Yeah, we get to take a breath of relief.
Seriously.
I wanted to get all the difficult stuff in with the first 4 shots.
Yeah, can I have 2 more shots?
Jesus,
the comment section is on fire right now, so we're going to cool off a little bit. What health advice do you wish you knew sooner? And this goes into a couple of things we were talking about before the podcast, but specifically just health advice to start.
Health advice, man. It's whenever you're in high school or when you're a teenager and you're growing up and you're thinking that you're invincible and that you can literally put whatever you want in your body and you're fine. That's basically what it is. And now that I've hit a certain age where I'm like, you know what? It was probably having kids, like care about what they're putting in their body. And, I think that's what triggered it was that. And then COVID era and the whole vaccine thing and all that. It was just, that really just like awoken me like to everything, even with like, Christianity. I was a lukewarm Christian prior to 2020 or prior to 2023. Probably just recently. I just had a revelation basically on all this, because whether you want to admit it or not, we're in a big religious holy war, and it's push and pull, and you gotta pick a side. Whether you want to be on the sidelines or not, you're still involved with it. And so that was a big point for me. But yeah, the health thing is just I tried to go back to just how our ancestors did it, just as simplify everything with like our food. So the easiest way to explain for like health, I like to go back to like our digestive tract, and you hear the words good bacteria and bad bacteria, because what's our society so trained to is bad bacteria, and now we need hand sanitizer, we need disinfected food, we need no bacteria, like every bacteria is bad.
I will say, whatever I was in, this is a pretty scarring experience for me. It may have shaped like my germophobia when I was younger.
Yeah.
I remember being, I think it was in 2nd grade, and they brought in this machine that you put your hands on it and it would show like all the quote unquote germs.
Thing.
You had that same
and
thing?
As much as you wash your hands, you never get it off. It'd be just there always.
I don't even know if it was real, but like,
I know.
But like, it definitely got it in your brain that like, hey, there's things on you that are, bad. But like you not being completely clean, not like mud on your hands, but like you like touching doorknobs or whatever else, and then eating can help your immune system, because you're allowing your body to adapt to these new invasive germs or viruses or whatever else.
And your immune system is literally 80, like I think it was 80%, maybe it's 40 or 60. I think it's 80% of your immune system is your digestive system.
Yeah.
So if you literally take an antibiotic and you kill all your good and bad bacteria, and then you're eating food that has no good bacteria in it, you're eating McDonald's or eating the box store, box mac and cheese. It's like it's there to be preserved with all the good and bad bacteria killed, so it can be shelf stable.
Yeah.
So all the stuff like they say in the supermarkets, everything in the middle is all just like killed bacteria. So it's all no bacteria basically. So you're never giving yourself any beneficial bacteria, which is like huge. Like you could end up having why do we have such a huge spike in mental illnesses in this country? It's literally catastrophic. Like
I think it's bacteria.
I don't know.
It's a theory.
It's a theory.
Yeah.
It's literally a theory. Like I can't tell you the proven facts of anything. You know what I mean? But you can look at how I am or how my children are. I've been, doing the bacteria way, and it seems they're so far so good. We'll find out in the test of time. Either I'm blessed or not. How do you attribute it? There's where the study's at. Someone got to do a study on that.
There's a couple. There's some out there. We could pull them up if we wanted to. It talks about your gut is it's a huge impact on your mental state. Like think about whenever you're hungry, right? What kind of mood does that put you in?
angry.
What about whenever you get that good midnight Mac?
Oh, I love my midnight Mac. I go right to bed.
But yeah, like I mean, there's your brain, your body is not just a brain. It is your endocrine system with all your hormones and everything in it, and your gut controls a significant portion of that. And like to your point, what happens when you stuff all these chemicals and preservatives and antibacterial stuff into your gut that has evolved or been created to work within these systems?
Yeah. And a person to listen to is RFK, Robert F. Kennedy, who's been getting so much criticized for some reason because he goes on podcasts and he talks about glyphosates. He talks about vaccines. He talks about preservatives and all that. And like red dye, all that stuff that we have in our food. And he's saying that it's an issue, instead of McDonald's frying with beef tallow, they're using seed oils now. And he's talked about seed oils and how it's a big disruptor. Like I talk about
what do seed oils do negatively? I don't know what.
So basically a seed oil, it just ruins your mitochondria production so that you have no energy. It ruins your energy levels and they can just like possibly tear up your gut. So basically you ever hear people with gut health, like your stomach lining, you have like ulcerative colitis or whatever. You have irritable bowel syndrome. Like all this stuff comes from all these foods. It could be from the glyphosates because glyphosate is a pesticide that's like sprayed on the crops like corn and wheat.
Okay.
So that was a big thing in 2009. I think they started doing glyphosate. And then you have people start having Crohn's disease all the time now because they're eating Big Macs and stuff at McDonald's. And now there's glyphosates. People just can't, like, it takes a certain amount of time to find your gut says, I can't handle it anymore. I'm done. You ruined me. People aren't taking care of their gut health, and some people were fine. Some people can handle it, and some people can. It just depends on your DNA and how you're made up. Some people can handle stuff, and some people can't. But
I definitely eat a lot of frozen foods myself. So
yeah,
I
did it my whole entire life. I did everything. I took all the vaccines. I ate all the crappy food. I ate Sheetz food all the time, and I was fine. But maybe I had better. I was just lucky. I don't know. But then there's some people that can't. You have all these issues.
Now you're more self-sufficient now, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you make your own, like produce and milk, as we've heard.
Right. Yeah.
So what are some of the, let's see here. What are some of the benefits of drinking raw milk? And does that outweigh the risks of it?
Absolutely. As long as it's done correctly. Absolutely.
So you're a big proponent of drinking raw milk?
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. As long as you get it from a person that is doing it correctly.
What does doing it correctly mean?
So I like to go back to I think it was like the 1800s when we had an industrial revolution. So you got to think about America prior to the big cities with all the industry and all that.
Okay.
Everyone just had rural farms, had a cow or two. They all milked their own cow, drank their own milk. It was all fine and dandy. That's how they did it. That's the only way they could do it. Well, then you have the industry come in with the big cities. So you have all these people with all their cows go into the city. Everyone's trying to milk their cow in the 1800s in the city with terrible, poor conditions, with terrible hygiene, not doing it the right way, and trying to give to other people, and you had issues. That's where most of the raw milk issues came from, was that period in time where they just didn't have good hygiene then. It was just a terrible setup, and you had all these illnesses came up. There was a ton of bad stuff that came out of that because it was just poor. It just was not cleanly. And yeah, I think it's where it came from to begin with. But today's age, when I'm doing that, I'm cleaning them off with a hot soapy water washcloth that's washed itself. And then I take iodine teat dip, clean it off with iodine because iodine kills bacteria. And then I have a antibacterial cloth, and I wipe the iodine off with that, and I clean it off with that to make sure that cow, and then I strip the cow 3 or 4 times to get all that milk out of there to make sure I'm getting the most clean milk ever. And so if those people weren't doing that practice in the 1800s, right, they were just putting that old bucket that they had, and it just, it just wasn't a good setup, especially in the city when it was a whole new thing. So and to go back to the conspiracy theory part of it, which is just so funny.
Good old conspiracy cow
theory.
The
Rothschild that was in British Parliament, you can look it up. It's called the Balfour Declaration whenever Israel was founded.
Okay.
There was a second time. There's only 2 times that Rothschild went into Parliament and spoke, I guess. One time was for the founding of Israel, and the second time to ban raw milk.
Man, he just hitting you with everything. This guy was your nemesis.
I guess they wanted pasteurization of milk. They wanted pasteurization of milk. Look it up.
Dude, Walter Rothschild was back there just plotting, like, dude, how do I get to Jones 100 years from now, man? Like, how do I just make everything?
Guys, I'm telling you, look this thing up. Like, this is just the craziest thing, isn't it?
This is some supervillain levels of fuckery, dude. What does he have against Rob
Balfour
Milk?
Declaration was just about the Israel.
What does he have against Rob Milk?
Okay.
What did he
Who was
say?
it? Who was what Rothschild was it?
Walter Rothschild. Let me look up him and raw milk. Let's see what we get for that.
Yep, try that.
Oh my god, what does he have against Rob Milk?
It all links, dude.
Pasteurization of milk.
Oh my
That's what they want. Like, that's what
Are we
he
clicking
promoted.
on it?
Like,
What's going on, dude? Wait.
pasteurized milk on the spot.
Lord Rothschild rose to the call of the Attention's Majesty
Can we click on
government.
that?
There's
Can we
only
click
two
on
times.
answer?
Urgent need for compulsory
Can we click on that?
pasteurization of milk.
Can we click on that?
There's only
Just
two times he spoke in Parliament for those two things.
punch it in. Okay, Lord Rothschild.
Dude, he's literally a super villain, man. He's
I'm not perfect.
Rose to the call of attention of His Majesty's government to the urgent need for compulsory pasteurization of milk. Judge, you're in the weeds. You ever see that movie with where they're like trapped in the weeds and the weeds just grow wherever and you can't get out? That's you.
I know.
Like everything related to this nexus of conspiracy.
Isn't that ridiculous?
It all links in, dude. It all comes
I didn't know
together.
that.
Everywhere
I
you
didn't know that until I was
go,
already
weeds,
well into
dude.
milking now. Like, I didn't even. I just came up. I'm like, you gotta be shitting me. Like,
He's behind the milk too.
that just kind of like was just a cherry on top. Like
my
later on, I never knew
gosh.
that until like recently. But I just thought that was funny. I had to bring that up. You know what I
crazy,
mean? It's just a
dude.
cool little tidbit for you guys.
Oh my god.
All right, I don't even know how we get back on track here. I'm so dumbfounded.
So what was I talking about with the raw milk and
We were
that?
talking
It's just like
about
the correct way to do it.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then
the
he
correct way to
brought in
do it, and-
pasteurization because
Yeah.
they weren't doing it correctly.
And so now we pasteurize milk ever since then. But if you want to know whether pasteurization works or not,
Right.
like that's how we've been doing it forever, for a long time. Does pasteurization work? Okay, so if I get pasteurized milk and I feed it to a newborn calf, like a cow,
Okay.
they will die. They will not live. If it's pasteurized milk, yes, they will die. They will not live. And so how about we just, instead of just using a word like raw dairy milk or whatever, cow milk, let's just replace that with breast milk from a mom, from a mammal, a mother, human. You know, we're all mammals. Same thing. Is breast milk bad for babies? Some people say no. Some people say that's the most necessary thing to do in the world, you know? And so why would you say that it's bad from a cow? I mean, they've been milking cows, horses, camels, like goats, you know, you name it. They've been milking everything and drinking the milk from them. I mean, that's supposed to be the best nutrition you can possibly get, supposedly, is mother's milk, right? So why would I want to pasteurize that, you know? And it's funny because whenever you pasteurize milk and it goes bad, it just putrefies. It just like is just disgusting. Whenever raw milk goes bad, it never actually goes bad. It just changes states and it just turns into cheese. It turns into a different state form. It's actually not bad. Like I had milk,
Or like blue cheese or whatever, right?
I had milk in the fridge for like a month and I drank it and it was fine.
You drank month-old milk? What the
Raw,
milk you
raw.
brought? This milk is fresh, right?
Yesterday.
Yesterday. Day old milk. I don't know if I could do some day old milk.
See, so the best thing to do though is whenever you first milk them. After I do that too, I do strain the milk too as well.
Okay, Dave, you want to
Put it in the fridge.
Yeah.
And you want to cool it down as fast as you can for the best taste. I think it tastes amazing. We let it sit out for a little bit here, but not too long.
Yeah, I mean,
From
I'm
the
sure
car
it's
right here
fine.
now,
I mean,
but-
like,
You guys want to try it?
yeah. Well, I mean, you brought it up before, and we're 5 shots deep on shot takes. What better combination than
The
to
6 shots gonna make the milk come up.
Yeah, what better thing to drink than milk on a drinking
Hey,
podcast?
and I brought cookies. And I brought the cookies too.
Can you please bring me a cookie when you bring the raw milk?
Bring me my cookie.
Yeah.
So whenever you drink this though,
Oh
do you ever
my
like
God.
we ever like so thirsty, you just like get this like quench, this like quenching, like thirst quenching thing.
Can
you
I
know?
be scared?
Yeah, you can be scared.
I want you to go over the cream level thing.
Yeah. So like this is a jar of milk I got here.
Amazing.
And like can you see the line? I don't know if you can see it on the camera or not. Can you see
You
the
hold
line?
up to that camera. Yeah.
Like right here. Is that all right? Can
Yeah,
you see it?
looks good.
Can you see the cream line?
Yeah, we
It's like
can.
right here maybe?
Well, actually, maybe not.
I don't know.
Let me look. having a hard time seeing it.
I can barely see it myself. Oh yeah, I can see it. What's the deal with the cream line?
So that's like butter fat. They call it like percentage.
Do you
butter
mix it
fat,
up or
fat
no?
percentage.
For those who can't see at home, it's right here. There's a very small. Actually, it's a little bit on the darker here, lighter here. Right.
Yeah. So the cream separates because that's homogenization. If you homogenize the milk, then it spins it and it makes it all mixed evenly, so you don't see a cream line.
Yeah.
But basically, the cream is what you want. This is like the most beneficial part of the milk. And if you're gonna make butter, you literally take this part of the milk and you whip it, and it turns into butter.
So I'm drinking the precursor to butter.
Yeah. Or whipped cream.
always
You can make
wanted to
whipped cream as well from this as well.
Some butter.
So the cookies I got too are from our
Yeah, can you tell us about these cookies?
yeah, they have our butter too.
The
butter I made.
Can you explain your butter?
Yeah, so I basically just get the cream and scoop it off there, and we put it in a KitchenAid mixer and we make the butter. So basically you just gotta let it spin for however long it gotta go.
Okay.
And it just turns into butter. And you just form it and mold it, and then you got butter.
Amazing. Those cookies. I mean,
Is
they
that
look pretty
easy?
good. We'll see.
The only thing is like with the butter though, if you don't like keep it in like a sealed airtight container, it'll like start smelling like cheese. It's just like it's raw butter.
Yeah, it's basically just.
But for some reason, and the cookies have freshly milled flour, which is a huge deal too to me.
I never would have expected to be doing this on the show.
It's awesome. Dude. This is great.
So I'll shake it up now because we want to shake it up whenever we want to.
I thought you weren't shaking. I thought the best was on the top.
Well, no, I want to show them. I want to show the people,
Yeah, we just wanted to see the difference.
The cow I got too is a Jersey cow, which is different too because Holsteins don't have as much butter fat. But we like to go with Jerseys because they had the most butter fat, which is like the most nutritious, supposedly. And like in a podcast, or I listened to a book or read a book or something, and they said that for every 3 cups of milk from a Holstein, you get the same amount of nutrition from 1 cup of Jersey milk.
Okay.
So, and this milk came from our 2 Jersey cows that we milk ourselves.
This is as homemade as cookies can get, ladies and gentlemen.
Maybe I'll pour it out here so I'll make a mess.
Yeah, half a glass is fine.
Come on,
Be a man.
Half a glass is
Where's
fine.
your glass at?
Right here. This is awesome. Tim, if your stomach is curling at this, I'm gonna be sad when we go to Japan and you're just like turned off by everything because Japan's gonna be this times 1,000 for literally everything.
I can't wait for Japan. Yeah. It's gonna be so much fun. But this is a great time.
Thank you.
You get a cookie?
Yeah, the cookies are all right here, dog.
I need
want me to
one.
grab one for you?
I need.
Yeah, I'll grab you. Here, you grab
See
it.
what you
Put
think.
my hands on it. Or you
Yeah,
gotta
so
grab it on
that
plate.
flour, it's a big deal for me for the flour as well. And you don't think it's a big deal, but I think it really is a big deal.
Yeah. Let's do a little like wine tasting thing first. Dave, you want to do a little smell-a-rooney?
Yeah, let's do a
this?
little.
You ready? Let me see what kind of accents we get here.
Smells like milk, Tim.
I don't really smell anything.
Don't turn your nose on.
Because it's fresh, baby.
Smells good though.
I don't smell anything, dude.
It doesn't smell like sour milk. It smells like good fresh milk. You
All
know?
right.
Best you'll ever get.
All right, here we go.
All right.
I'm biased.
Oh my god, I'm so scared.
Just do it. Oh, that's nice. That's really nice.
Yeah. That's all right.
You don't notice anything different, right? It just tastes like milk.
Yeah.
It tastes like
it tastes like pure milk. Like if it was just milk. Straight up.
That's all it is.
What percentage would this be if there was a percentage on this?
Oh, like you had the blue label, like blue tab 2%. That's probably like 6% or 8%. I mean, you see how much cream was in that?
Yeah.
What's the percentage of cream you think compared to milk?
Wow.
Oh, that's what that's supposed to be?
That's like
I don't know.
That's,
I don't know.
that's like the milk, fat content of milk is like 2% fat. Whole milk is normally 4% fat. So whole milk is a red cap. That's 4% fat.
I see.
So what do you think that is in that jar? Like what was the percentage you think?
Significant. It had to be at least 30% of cream like in that jar, right?
Yeah. But that's where you get all your nutrients from, is the cream.
I am very surprised that this does not taste like significantly different than just normal like pasteurized milk.
Like when somebody hunts a deer and kills a deer and they bring it back, it's like you can tell like it was gamey. It was in the woods, you know? Mm-hmm. Like this is just like it's just milk.
I think we're gonna have a cookie.
So tell us about the cookie again. Okay.
Yeah, so the cookie. Cheers.
Cheers. You want to clink too?
Yeah. Get me clinking.
All right.
So the cookie has soft white flour in it, but it's not just soft white flour, it's freshly milled soft white flour. So what the big deal is with like soft white flour and like freshly milling your own flour, according to like without my research, my opinion, once you freshly mill flour, there's way more micronutrients in it. There's way more nutrients in it in general. So it might be a little gritty when you're eating a cookie, like more grittiness taste to it, because there's a bran and a germ in it. Whenever you buy store-bought flour, they get rid of the bran, they get rid of the germ, and that has a lot of nutrients in it that you need. They strip that out. Sometimes they bleach the flour, and then they had to add minerals back into it. So you're actually like not really getting anything good out of the store-bought flour. But when you freshly mill flour, you have all the nutrients in it, so it's actually good for you to eat that cookie. You're actually getting...
This cookie is delicious.
This is probably the best cookie I've had, at least in 2025. Probably going back into 2024 for sure.
But like it should just like hit right. Like you should like feel like you're like you're quenching your hunger of like something that you feel you needed. It just like that taste of it just feels like, even the milk. Doesn't it like taste like kind of like refreshing? Like the milk didn't taste bad. Like, it's kind of refreshing.
Totally natural.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like, to your point about the fulfillment from the cookie.
Yeah.
It's like whenever I go and buy the expensive bread at the store, and like you're like eating that compared to like Wonder Bread. That's like super white, whatever. It's like you can tell it's just like sugar bread.
Yeah.
That cookie tasted like I'm actually getting something from it more than just like,
you actually
obviously it's a dessert,
Yeah. But you're actually getting something from the nutrients.
But there's something to it as well.
Yeah. And like we I think it's really important. Like I really.
Do you have any cookie?
Yeah, I did. Well, I didn't have one now, but I had one.
I have a cookie.
I make them all the time at my own house.
Enjoy the spoils of war.
And somehow I'm not 300 pounds.
Good point.
Yeah. I eat all the time. But
I wonder if that's part of the obesity epidemic too, is like, even the snack food has something to it it's offering you. Whereas nowadays it's like your meal food doesn't have anything to offer you.
Maybe try the other cookies that he bought. You can try to
side by side.
You want to do that?
All right, Jeds, you were already over there.
Yeah.
I need a palate cleanser. Hold on. I want you to rip a piece off. I want you to rip a piece off of that cookie and a piece off of that cookie, and I will tell you what cookie I think tastes better.
You do that. I'm eating the good stuff because that was really good.
Hold on, I'm palate cleansing. All right, stick it in my mouth.
Okay. Pause.
Ready? All right. Very coarse. Very like. That was really, really tough to chew. I don't know. I don't want to insult your cookie if that was your cookie, but like, that was noticeably difficult to chew. All right. Palate cleanse.
Okay.
All right, let's go for it.
All right.
I'm ready. So fluffy, so light.
Oh,
Just melts in your mouth. Damn. I can tell the difference between the cookies. That was definitely your cookie, right? The second one?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, all you have is my butter that we made from our milk. It has that soft white flour, freshly milled wheat berry. It has one egg that I have in my house too. We got our own chicken, so it's my own egg too. And it has sugar. That's it. But when you look at this, this label.
Yeah, show me that ingredient label.
It says like, okay, chocolate chunk cookie, enriched bleached flour.
Bleached flour, baby.
Bleached flour, yeah. Thiamine, mononitrate, riboflavin. It has palm oil, soybean oil, soy lectin, sodium benzoate, diglycerides, preservative, natural and artificial flavor, vitamin A, polymeat weight, there's so much stuff in here. And all mine was just like simple ingredients. Just like, I don't know how I am named off, like 4.
And it's somehow better.
Like it was 100% better cookie.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's just how fresh it is.
Yeah.
But even still, like, if I was just to compare them, like this is literally like twice as good as that cookie.
That's what I thought. Yeah, I think it's worth it. Like that's why, and like I think the nutrition's there. Like I think they say after so many days or so many hours, if you have like flour that's just freshly milled, it actually goes rancid kind of quick. I don't know if it was days or hours though. I'm not. You have to look that up yourself. It's kind of debated too. I think like you have like vitamins. Like when you go back to the Bible, Jesus is the bread of life. You know, they talk about bread in there. They talk about honey in there. They talk about milk in there. Talk about all that good stuff. You know, and if we're eating this kind of bread or this kind of flour, probably way better for you than just like that kind of flour. You know, the bleached flour. So I mean, I always like thought like. You know, when people go on diets and they think like, oh, cut out dairy, cut out carbs, you got to try to go meat or whatever. No, if you have this kind of dairy and flour, you know, I think it might be better. It might be okay because my wife was gluten free. Now she's not. She eats all this. It's all freshly milled. Yeah, she's not gluten free anymore.
Why did she go gluten free?
In high school, she just had a gluten intolerance to whatever bread.
And she can have this flour.
Yeah.
Wait, why is this not talked about more? What?
Because what's true is not always popular, and what's popular is not always true.
But there's so many people who just straight up can't have bread and stuff now.
Yeah.
Because of their gluten, their celiac disease or their gluten intolerance.
Yeah. She'll eat bread. We make our own bread and everything. She eats it.
I feel like we are definitely missing out on some kind of element behind the science of cookies.
Yeah. But you want to know it's one thing that's even further, like another step further, like we did the milk for a long time. But I just started incorporating this flour since like the fall, like last fall. My kids have not been sick one single time all winter long since I started freshly milling flour. Don't know why. I can't explain any science behind it, but my kids were sick all year long from April until fall, until I started freshly milling flour. We haven't had not a sniffle, not a runny nose, nothing. I don't know if I contribute that to flour or not, but that's the only thing I changed in my life was the flour.
I mean, after that experience, I could certainly believe.
Well, those plate of cookies are for you guys. So,
well, thank you.
That's my gift to you
Dave
guys.
Will take half. Let's set these off the stage for right now. You want to package those up and throw them away?
Seriously, thank you. That was fantastic.
I'm so glad you bought some.
For sure.
We are back. Put the cookies away. And we're on to question number 6.
They're your cookies now, baby.
Oh, yeah, they're my cookies. It's our cookies. Communal cookies.
That's right.
Communal cookies.
Back to where it belongs.
All right. Moving on to the last question of the night. Oh, here we go. Should vaccinations be mandatory in a time of crisis?
In a time of crisis, like that's like COVID 2020. You know, in time of crisis, I mean, oh yeah.
That was him shooting you with a shot. The tequila's gone at this point, right? You already did tequila? That's right. Yeah.
I had one tequila and the rest of them were all the same.
It cracks me up. Cracks me up that you solved what this middle hole was for. It's like I did not know what I wanted to use it for.
I may be crazy, but
this hole happens to be perfectly the size of a shot glass. You bozos. How long have you been doing this show? He's thinking.
Yeah, absolutely not. It should not be mandated in a time of crisis. But with me saying that, the next crisis we're going to have is probably going to be some virus that's going to kill all of us. And I'll be like, I'm not taking that. And then I'll be the first one to die. That's going to be my luck. That's going to be my luck.
Right. You learn the rule, and then the exception to the rule happens immediately afterwards.
That's what's going to happen. Yeah. I'm like, I will never take that. And then I'm the first one gone. Like, oh, R.I.P. Jones. R.I.P.
I will say I got vaccinated.
Yeah.
I kind of like I did my research on what mRNA was, and I was like, okay, it's reasonable what they seem to be trying to do with it. My fiance is on dialysis. I can't afford for her to get sick. I am her primary nurse in this thing. So like I kind of have to do it for her because it seems reasonable. Obviously, if it was all red lights, I would have just been like, screw it, you and I are going to go live in the woods. I'm just going to do dialysis with you there. But it made sense to me, so I did it. So full disclosure, I was vaccinated. Yeah. I am fine. I got COVID. It wasn't terrible for me, but I'm also like a fairly fit person who does some level of exercise. So
that is exactly the point, right? Where you were saying, like, what if it was a more serious virus that went around? That not more serious, I guess I should say, to people, because lots of people died because attributed to COVID at the very least. If you were to have a virus that had a higher fatality rates amongst people who were not of a susceptible demographic,
like Ebola.
Yeah, if you were to have that, would you be opposed to the government forcing people to get vaccinated so that you could get crowd immunity or herd immunity?
If it was Ebola, it's gonna be Weebola, baby. So we dying together. But like on a more serious standpoint, I mean, yeah. So with the whole thing is though that most recent vaccine, it's mRNA technology. It's a completely different vaccine than was ever used.
It is,
and that was like a big sticking point for me to begin with because like I go back, me and my wife. We're all vaccinated from when we're children, we got all the childhood vaccines. We didn't get to COVID one, but like everything before that, like whatever was recommended, we got them all. Like I'm here, I'm sitting here, I'm fine. And maybe you might think I'm crazy, but I'm okay, right? For the most part, I'm okay.
Yeah, we're all okay, right?
Yeah, right. And so like we did that. And so like I was up until I had my kid, I had my first, it was just so crazy because I had my first child in March of 2020.
Okay.
And guess what happened in March of 2020? COVID was out. April's when it really kicked off, though. Or no, April of 2020 is his birthday. Sorry, but yeah, April. March was a crash. April was, so I was in COVID whenever it was happening. That's what I was trying to get to. But like, yeah, I was in the middle of COVID there, and like once like I had my child, I like literally every decision you ever make for the rest of your life is for your child or for your wife. That's the only people you care about.
Yeah.
For that and your family. Like, it's the only thing that you. Like every decision I make now is always based off of them. It's the only people I care about, And so once that came around, I was pro-vaccine. I was like, we're gonna do this. Like, yeah, I did it, you did it, we're doing it. But you know what? Like, really hit me. It took me a long time for it to hit me because like I had that implicit bias, whatever it is that like just said, like, no, you took it, we're fine. Stop. Like, we're taking all this. Well, the one thing that I finally came to realization was like. Because my stance now, do you think a parent woke up one day, just some random day, and just woke up and said, you know what? I'm not going to do vaccines anymore. I want to hurt my child. No. Like, if I thought vaccines were good, I would give them to my children. But like, I did so much research now. The people that are anti-vax do so much research. It's unbelievable. I promise you. Yeah. They're not just some people that just wake up one random day and just say, you know what? We're not doing that. Nope, we're not doing that. Like, I did so much research on it. It's like incredible because I wanted every parent wants the absolute best for their children,
right?
And that's the whole thing with this world we live in today. With like I say, what's popular is true, or what's not, what's not popular is not, all that stuff. But like, some parents think if I do that, then I'm doing the right thing. Some parents like me, if I don't do that, I'm doing the right thing. So which one is it? And you got to use your own judgment. And the one thing is, though, is a mother's intuition is the most powerful thing you ever see. Because my wife is the one that did it. That said, you know what, Dylan, let's look into this a little bit more before we do it again. Because
did you get an initial vaccination, but you didn't get a stage 2? Did you get Pfizer, Moderna? What did you get?
Well, we didn't do anything COVID. No COVID vaccines.
You didn't get no COVID. Okay.
Nothing. But just like the childhood for my son. We did it for the first son. We did the initial 2 months vaccine one. And then we stopped after that, after she said that she feels like something's wrong. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, okay, well, you're my wife. I married you. I had made this covenant with you with God, and I'll trust you. You're the mother, They have the most bond with that child more than anyone else. She knows more than I do. So, all right, we'll do it. You just do that. And here I am not doing it at all anymore. So after I did all my research and looked into it, and just talked to some people, and it was a tough decision, though, because I want the absolute best for my child. I want them to be healthy.
What was the single most compelling piece of evidence for you that made you believe, other than your wife?
It took me like a long time, but like actually Tucker Carlson, I don't know if you know who he is, from Fox. He talking about the podcast with an attorney who sues the government for vaccine injured children.
Okay.
And when he was speaking during that podcast, he said that it was actually a pretty recent podcast, not that old. He said that there is fetal human lung tissue used to develop vaccines, to develop the traditional ones, at least. I don't know about the mRNA ones, but like the traditional ones. So if I'm a Christian, I'm a religious person, and so I'm a pro-life person, why am I going to take a vaccine that has aborted fetal tissue, lung tissue in it, that was developed for a vaccine? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a breach of your moral understanding of life.
I just breached it right there. Like that one. I mean, that one's like just recently that came up to me. that was never my argument until now. But like prior to that,
It's a part of it now. It's a
yes, that's like my biggest one. But like prior to that was he said like aluminum is in there, methylated mercury. Did you ever listen to the RFK podcast with Joe Rogan? The first thing he ever talks about is the mercury in it with the monkeys, that science project. They had, I think it was methylated or ethylated, some type of mercury. They put that into vaccines. They injected it in these monkeys. They checked their blood like 24 hours later. It's gone. Okay, perfect. You know, the shots work great. It's disappeared. It's good. Well, when the monkeys died, they dissected the brains. They checked the brains. It was all in their brains. Just all this mercury was in their brain. Yeah.
Why are we still using mercury for anything medical?
Correct.
Like,
and we're using aluminum. And
and
like you said, aluminum adjuvant. And like there was no safety studies done. According to RFK, who's an attorney who sued for this, who sued Anthony Fauci, said there's no safety studies done on any vaccines out there.
So that's one of the other questions I had here is why are people upset with Fauci? What mainstream arguments are there that he has done something potentially illegal or immoral, whatever you might have it?
I can't remember exactly where his wife's at, but his wife's like in the NIH or something. So like basically he's in the...
What is that again? I don't know.
National Institute of Health. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, so I don't know. So either one of you guys.
Yeah, so like, so his wife's like, I guess his wife was the one that approved his vaccine or something, and he's getting royalties from it.
Talk about conflict of interest.
Yeah, and then on top of that, like the people in the government, they go back to like Moderna and Pfizer. So like, the CEOs of those companies go back and forth between government and their big pharmaceutical companies. They take care of each other. Like FDA, all that stuff. All those people within that level all go back and forth.
I think that it's kind of difficult because like no matter where, like what solution you have to a problem, it's going to be some big company given it's a capitalistic society.
Yeah.
So like, is it really their fault that they are already just at the top and that they're just going to profit more? Like, I don't really know.
Greed. Yeah.
I know it's greed in a sense, but like somebody has to make it, right? Somebody has to benefit from producing the vaccine. Somebody has to make it for profit. I mean, like, I don't know. That's my personal opinion on it. It's like, what do you think?
Whenever I was a child, we got 17 or 18 vaccines on our childhood schedule. And right now the childhood schedule is up to 72. So, I mean, that's a pretty big issue in itself because, I mean, once they, like, you can't sue a vaccine manufacturer.
Yeah.
The only thing you do is sue the government. They protect the vaccine manufacturer. Why is that? Wouldn't you want them to sue the vaccine manufacturers? They make a better product. You would think so, but they don't do that. So, I mean, when I look at that, so how many vaccines did our grandparents get? Polio, maybe another one, maybe like a handful of vaccines, maybe. And some of them live to be over 100 years old. Nobody's living over 100 years old anymore, brother. And we got Social Security to pay for.
I mean, like, it is actually the benefit. Yeah, that is a true benefit to not having people live extra long. But like, life expectancy, I think, is still on the rise. I don't know what it actually is.
I don't know.
It's climbing.
Yeah,
I'll look it up right now.
I don't know for sure. But one question I do want to ask is, do you think that kids should be required to be vaccinated to go into like schools or whatever else?
No. Absolutely not, because they're not a risk to the kids that are already in there. It'd be the opposite. It'd be those kids are at risk because if your kids are vaccinated, they're protected, right? You believe that you're protected, but like my kids, they shouldn't be protected. They should be more susceptible.
So do you think that is irresponsible on the parents' behalf to put them into the schools?
That's what people think. Yeah, they think it may be irresponsible if you do that if your kids aren't vaccinated, right? I mean.
Yeah, so the government body or class, like a classroom or not a classroom, a school body allow some of these kids to come in if they know that the parents would be at negligent risk of putting their child in peril because these kids could have these diseases that are dormant because they have a vaccine already or whatever else, right? Like, would you ever put your kids into a school if they don't have vaccines against something that like smallpox or something? I don't know. I don't know what major.
Yeah, I'd put them in there. I mean, I put them in school. I wouldn't have an issue with putting them in school with any of our kids.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not really worried about the disease. I'm more worried about I mean, that kind of goes back to like, like Christianity, like, you know what? I'm going to die from coronavirus. Me and you go pray to Jesus and I'm gone, baby. Like that's how he wants me to go. That's where we're going. Like if I got to go out some way, I'm fine with it. I made my peace. I'm going where I'm going. If that's how I'm supposed to go, that's how I'm supposed to go. So,
yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
I think we're past that now, right? Like we're at the point where algorithms are going to be able to solve these virus like strains.
And maybe
blink of an eye, right?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, maybe what is hesitant for me is like science trying to play God,
Yeah.
Like I feel like God made us perfect, or trying to make us as best He can. You know, we were pretty incredible human beings, our machine of ourselves, that we're pretty good at healing ourselves and the way we are. Like I feel like He made us a certain way that we shouldn't be trying to play God and putting stuff in there and messing up anything. You know, what He has out there is what we're supposed to have.
Yeah, I think that's a topic that I definitely want to have you on for again. Is the religious aspects, what you believe in, what drives your religion.
Oh yeah,
because you could really get off the rails with like your religious beliefs and everything like that, and how that drives your moral nexus. And
it does.
You know, like how
and it never did until like 2023, really.
Yeah, but for the sake of this conversation, I think it's kind of difficult to draw that into it. So we'll stick to the actual core debates, which is whether or not kids should be vaccinated, whether or not we should force people to vaccinate whenever there's a global pandemic again. You know, like I get that you should have autonomy over your body to make that decision.
Yeah, my body, my choice, right?
Yeah, but
abortion,
do you have autonomy over your body whenever there's a world war? And we need people to go and get recruited to go and fight in that war. That's taking autonomy over your body to recruit you to go and fight.
I don't agree with that either. Yeah.
But like you're part of the nation, you should have some kind of obligation to serve that nation. Should you not, or no?
If the war came to the United States of America, I'll be the first one to be out there fighting them.
I mean, but you're
if the
a
ships landed
person.
on Virginia Beach, brother, kiss some kids and wife goodbye. I'm going to Virginia Beach and we're going to kill some people. You know, like I'm going. But like.
Why does that obligation not extend? Why does your obligation to put your life in harm's way not extend to a vaccine?
Because I think that's just a whole different situation. You know, I mean, I think the vaccine was created by someone that's trying to make profit. You know that pediatricians, which is a children's doctor, they get paid a bonus based on how many kids they keep on the schedule, the children's schedule. So you get a $40,000 bonus for whatever, how many kids you keep on the schedule. So like that's why it's really problematic whenever you take your kid to a pediatrician and you say I don't want to take any vaccines. They'll refuse to see your child. Really? They just refuse you. They won't even let you stay. Some will, some might, but they actually do that.
Yeah, holy smokes.
What is this?
This is nothing against you. I fact check everything these days, so I'm just looking into this.
I mean, so that's a big thing about this podcast. Before we really dig into this, I really want to emphasize this. I want this podcast to be a very common ground type of, not debate type of thing. I just want to hear people's ideas and really kind of pick apart why they believe in what they believe in. I don't want to completely shut down anything you believe in.
I want to hear it. Let's see it. Yeah.
So like him looking up this stuff, I'm all for it because I want to see what actually is true. So what do you got, Dave?
So the claim is that they pay doctors a $40,000 bonus for administering vaccinations, blah, blah. Associated Press, whatever. We'll just gonna read it. They say false. It's a federation, blah, blah, blah. Doesn't offer an incentive. Company can set its own performance-based incentives. Okay. So that could rely within that doctor's network too.
Okay.
Vaccinations may be one category, wouldn't be the only measure.
Not very concise in its delivery.
No, this is ridiculous. I'm going to a different website.
But y'all remember AP, Associated Press, whatever.
Yeah.
You have to know whether or not
they were the ones that
weren't
they the ones that got all the money from USAID? USAID?
Did they?
Yeah.
I don't actually know.
They were paying their salaries on it. Like the government was paying for the press. I'm pretty sure it was AP or Politico, one of the two. Is that the same thing?
I don't think they're the same thing, but I mean, I could certainly see them taking some kind of government payment. But I don't know what that's in relation to. I haven't heard of that before. So.
Yeah. And then you got these people writing these headlines here. That's why I say where do you get your truth from? Do you listen to Fox News or CNN or CNBC or NBC or New York Times or Washington Post? Is that what if you read it there, is that where that's what's truth now?
I think they're all garbage, personally.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Every single one.
Whichever one you want to think about. If I watch Fox News and it tells me that this is what's happening, is that truth? Because propaganda is legal in the United States. So when you think about that.
Well, propaganda is very hard to kind of narrow down what propaganda is.
Correct.
So
and that's the whole thing with everything in society, with vaccine and anti-vaccine, there's sides for both sides. There's arguments for both sides. That's why I had such a hard time trying to do it, because I want the absolute best for my children. I do not want my child to die. I want them they're the heir to the throne, baby. I want them to live and take over, they're my dynasty, right?
Yeah.
I want to do everything I can to keep them healthy and alive. I would never want to risk that. If I had to, I'd give them 10,000 of them. But another, now I'm kind of thinking of it with like the vaccine thing. Like for a COVID vaccine, why do I get the same dose as a 2-month-old infant that's like this big, that just barely breathed life in, and you want to inject them with a needle with God knows what's in it? You know, like they're not going to give me the same dose. Should there be a dosage difference here? But there isn't. It's just like, no, just give them it. It is what it is. It's part of the schedule now. I mean, then there's booster and booster and booster. So you should keep on getting boosters, right? You're still giving them out. You should be on your 9th one or 10th one now, right? But we don't do it. So, I mean, it's just, everyone has to make that own choice. And I think everyone should have the freedom to make their own choice, you know?
Yeah, I'm a big proponent on, that's my biggest conundrum with this whole topic, which is why I ask it. Because I ask these questions, I want to know for my own self, like whether or not it's ethical to force people to make this decision. If the ultimate goal is to help everybody in the nation or the world, if in fact, prevent calamity. And I think that given how far we've advanced with science, it's logical and reasonable to assume that they have created means to create vaccines that are, you know, dependable and logical. Yeah. But I can also see where the for-profit stuff kind of intersects with it and creates issues, you know? Exactly. And that's a very big frustration for me. But I mean, what can I really do as an average citizen, right?
Don't take the vaccine.
They tell us, hey, just, I mean, we got to flatten the curve.
Yeah.
And then how long do we got to wait to flatten the curve?
Yeah. I mean, like they have a measles, mumps, rubella shot now. Like tons of people had measles back in the day and growing up. They all had measles and they lived. It was just people that have like an immune system that's compromised. Those are people that are dying from all this stuff. It's not the people that are healthy. You get a compromised immune system. That's normally where it's all coming from. Like, is there a reason why a 1 hour old baby gets a hepatitis B shot, which is just an STD? They give that baby a shot as soon as they're born. Hepatitis B, done. Vitamin K, done.
Gonna knock it off the list.
Yeah, but I mean, that baby don't have hepatitis B. Yeah. Unless like the mother had it. But you can test for that. Like you know if the mother had it or not. Like I know my wife doesn't have hepatitis B. But why you want to give my child hepatitis B? You just doing it for money? Like RFK says that they basically did it for money. No. That's what he says though. But he's an attorney. He's sued about that aspect.
They bill you for every vaccine they give you.
Yeah. They gotta make money somehow, baby.
Come from somewhere.
It's all about money. Everything at the end of the day is about money. And once you realize it's about money, then you start realizing a lot of more things are open up your eyes, you know?
What did you want to say, Dave?
I don't know, devil's advocate part of it though. I feel like if the vaccine is an only positive thing, it makes sense to give to kids. Yeah. Even if it's just hepatitis B, we could test the mother for it, whatever. We could just make the kid immune to it and then they're fine, right? If it's only a net positive. Yeah. The question is, are we swinging back towards, again, we talk about the pendulum, swinging back and forth all the time. Yep. Are we swinging towards for-profit motive only? Yeah. And are the vaccines actually getting rushed through and being bad at this point and net negative? Then that's where, to your question, what does the average American do? We vote with our wallets. We're no longer going to pay for that shit because it's actually hurting us. Yeah. Right? Which is really the only thing you can do in a capitalist society, because you could sue them, except for the U.S. government's protecting them. So yeah, Robert Kennedy sued Dr. Fauci and like the government for their safety studies. To get the safety studies for these vaccines, they can't provide them. Look up you can probably look it up. Well, so anyone here can look it up. This is what
they did not
bothers
provide safety studies for any vaccine. There's no safety studies.
If you're doing your due diligence, like, isn't the purpose of you being a scientist to do your due diligence to provide the evidence, so that way whenever you get asked for your paperwork for if you did your job, you can provide that and say, I have no shadow of a doubt these are safe.
Yeah, Robert Kennedy just stopped the flu shot campaign. The flu shot campaign's done right now.
Not knowing exactly what you're talking about, I will say it is difficult when you're at the front of a pandemic and you're expected to make the absolute correct decision when it comes to making the vaccine.
So that's a big thing like Trump too. That's a big point for Trump. Trump's the one that initiated all of it, the Operation Warp Speed. He let them emergency use authorization the vaccine. But you know what the emergency authorization is for? Is like when there's no other cure out there, but then people start talking about ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, and all the other alternatives. There should be no alternatives to a vaccine. Yeah. So that was a big issue for them as well.
What were you saying, Tim?
Oh, I would just like to make sure that people understand that these people are making decisions under incredible pressure. Yeah. Nobody's gonna have all the answers. You know, I mean, like the strain's going to change too. The vaccine's not always going to be 100% effective because it's going to mutate or whatever else. Yeah. I think the biggest shortcoming of the COVID thing in America specifically is the lack of emergency response infrastructure to take care of the influx of people who became sick from it.
Yeah.
If we had that infrastructure in place to put people on life support or whatever else, or have some kind of tent medical cities, I think that would have been a way better alternative than making people, not be able to interact in the social, not in the social world, in the physical world, if their jobs depend on being physically out there to make money. Because not everybody can sit at home and remote work and make their living. Like, some people have to go out there and potentially put their lives at risk. You know, what happens when we get into a situation where we get a virus that we cannot deal with immediately?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, what do you expect? You need to have this infrastructure ready to go.
That's what I'm saying. I'll be dead because I messed up.
They're stacking bodies. Like you said, sort of seeing in New York, they were stacking bodies on the streets. Like, how is there no contingency for one of the most likely outcomes of a potential mass, death situation?
Yep.
And that blows my mind. And
like, strategically, we just don't have that. Insane. Like
how do we have a strategic resource for every single conceivable war in every proxy nation, whatever you want to call it, but we don't have the ability to, provide these tent cities for our American citizens?
We don't care about people dying.
And that's where I am with you with the isolationist aspects of, like, if we don't even have these resources in place for something like that,
first.
Why is that not? Why do we not have that ready to go? If we have it ready to go, then fine, we can go out and do whatever else. But that's the biggest aspect that I want to take away from this. And before we get too deep into it, that's kind of one of the shortcomings of a capitalistic society, because it's very profit driven.
It is.
It's a very need, like a demand, supply demand type of thing. And there's no demand if there's no pandemic, so it doesn't get made.
Yeah.
Right.
You're right.
But that's everything I wanted to mention. Is there anything else you wanted to kind of touch on before we close out this podcast?
No, if I touch on anything, we'll go for another half hour or so. I'm not saying anything. I'm done. Unless you want to. It don't matter to me. No, I'll go all night. I can stay up all night.
No, I'm definitely down to have you on again. We'll see how people enjoy the podcast. Hopefully people engage a bit or whatever else. And
leave hopefully
mostly positive, please. We try to be as pragmatic and reasonable with this thing as possible.
They're going to hose me.
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see if people gravitate towards it, depending on what we release and stuff. But either case, I've been Tim from Shot Takes. That's been Dave. That's been Jones.
Yep.
Think responsibly, viewers.